Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Hoop Spaces today. Today is December 8th, 2022, and will now go down in the day in history as the day that Brittany Griner has been released by Russia in a prisoner swap for Victor Bout. Was secured by the State Department, the United States government. We will talk about that. We have plenty of NBA to talk about. Chris Paul has returned. Warriors left with their mouths agape after a late collapse in Utah. AD and LeBron sat out in Toronto for some reason. We'll get there. And your Boston Celtics, that's right. They are your Boston Celtics, whether you like it or not, routed the Phoenix Suns. Routed. We'll get there. We have JB with the opening rant, and then we'll probably talk some Brittany Griner. Shout out to all of you who make part of your day part of Hoop Spaces. We are appreciative. Brought to you by slamgoods.com. Head over to slamgoods.com and use promo code HoopSpaces. Save 15%. We'll get a read in. I'll get the tweet in. I did the list for Amazon for Vincent's Christmas gifts as requested. I'll get that up there. And you know what? It's a good day. You need to choose to do the positive and view the positive for what it is. I'll be back in 30. Appreciate y'all. Good morning. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'll apologize in advance. I'm losing my voice. You might hear it a little bit deeper. Whatever my son had in terms of that RSV or upper respiratory bug, it's hit me. I do feel miserable, but I am here to talk basketball as we are here every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. If you miss any of the show, head over to YouTube where you can find the entire show in its pure, unedited form, powered by audiolabs.io. Shout out to audiolabs.io, helping me produce the YouTube content here from Spaces. Also, shout out to Playback. We are still on track for tonight. We will be broadcasting live at 9 o'clock. We'll cover the league around League Pass. If I am lucky enough to get their remote control feature, they're still pushing that out. And that'll be at 9, unless I end up being unable to speak. And then if that's the case, we probably won't. It's a complicated day. I'm just going to open it up and say it this way. It is a complicated day. I choose to be happy for Brittany Griner and Brittany Griner's family. I choose to relish and share in the joy that she has returned home despite the circumstances. If you do not follow international politics and if you've not followed any of the prisoner swaps between the United States and Russia, personally, I think you should keep your opinion to how you feel for Brittany Griner because this is a deeply complicated subject. To that effect, we do have Damo here, who's going to come on up and give you a little bit of perspective from the political world. And also, like me, celebrate in the fact that Brittany Griner is home before Christmas, before we then reset the show and then open up with JB's rant, and then we'll talk some basketball. Damo, I appreciate you being able to take a break from your, extremely prodigious job. Like, I love what you're doing. I kind of wish you were doing your old job, but I totally understand why not, and I'm happy for your success. This is complicated. You're up here when it happened, and we were talking about it back in the summer and in the beginning of the season as this story has progressed. If you do not know the story, you can read the recap on CNN, NBC, CBS, or wherever you get your news source. But Brittany Griner has been released in a prisoner swap, a one-for-one swap with Victor Bout. I will open it up with this. Whelan, Mr. Whelan was found guilty of espionage. This is a different case than what Brittany Griner was convicted of, and there already had been opportunities to possibly swap, and we are at the mercy of Russia when it comes to this. So we took the deal that was there because it was the only deal that was there, and we should celebrate the fact that Brittany Griner is home, or at least on her way home at this very moment. Damo, good morning. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Today is a
You're kind of breaking up.
hold on.
All right.
I can give you a little bit of insight unless Damo's back.
He's probably just in a bad spot in terms of connection, and really the insight is more from his previous professional experience. Is that what I'm wanting? Damo, if you're back, go ahead.
Can you hear me
Yep,
now?
got you now.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I had to step outside. Yeah, man. I think a few things, right? I think one, today is a really, really good day. I cannot stress enough the fact that prisoner exchanges take a really, 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 really long time. You have people who are held for years. Unfortunately, some people are held for decades. Um, like there have been stories of people who get held without official charges for 10, 12 years. So we're at, I believe, 9 to 10 months. So that's an amazing revelation. I woke up today to the news, and it happened generally how like I was told it would happen. You would just wake up on a random day and you would see the news that Brittany Griner is on a plane back home or Brittany Griner is in an embassy somewhere. Um, because the majority of these negotiations happen extremely quietly, extremely behind closed doors, because any news getting out can put things in jeopardy. My heart breaks for the family of Paul Whelan, but I think Chris did an amazing job explaining that this is a very different um, scenario because he was charged and found guilty of espionage. I'll say like two things that I think are important. Number one, and I mean some of it's all in good fun and good jest. I even tweeted out the Vin Diesel meme, but let's try not to break this down like it's an NBA trade deadline trade. Brittany Griner is a Brittany Griner has a family. Brittany Griner has friends and loved ones, and it was really, really important, not just to her but to the community at large. I'm a black person. I think it was important to our community that we do things to get her home. I think this is an example of an administration and a presidency um, moving as quickly as humanly possible. I really can't stress how fast that was. The second thing I want to say, um, and this is just a word of wisdom, man. Chris has alluded to it. I've studied straight up. I worked in politics for a very long time. I'm the child of a veteran. Chris is a veteran. I know people who work in foreign affairs. Please be careful. And I understand that Brittany was over there for work, but please, please, for the love of God, please be aware of where you are traveling and where you are working. There are certain countries that you should just try to avoid at all costs, and unfortunately, Russia is one of them. We have had an extremely adversarial uh, a relationship with in the past. There are a lot of other countries, places in the Middle East. I hate seeing y'all keep going to Dubai. I know that the beaches are beautiful out there, but just be aware and be careful when you're traveling internationally. I understand that it's different being, a black or a minority person in America, but over there they do view you as American as well, and they will take you and try to leverage you against the United States if necessary. So that aside, man, today's a good day. And free BG. And shout out to Vin Diesel for getting her home, because we all know that that's what really happened here.
Oh, thank you for the levity with the Vin Diesel. I chuckled at the meme. It's a complicated situation. I'm 40. My parents are military intelligence. I grew up in a home that spoke Russian for the first 2 years of my life. In Presidio and Monterey, you are not allowed to speak English if you're going through the immersion language class, which they were. I grew up with an international upbringing, Germany, England, France. We traveled, and I still grew up learning more probably than the average American. And when we talk adversarial, you have to understand like this is an 80-year adversarial standoff between Russia and the United States. And there's been peaks and lows on both sides. And what happened within 9 months has actually never happened at all in the history of prisoner swaps in Russian and American affairs. So whatever it was, I want to give credit to Anthony Blinken and the State Department. They did a phenomenal job working out a framework that Russia could not walk away from because they have done this before. And that was my fear. And if you remember when this all happened, I tried to caution most people saying, hey, look, this is going to be a longer situation than what you are probably prepared to accept. And I am not going to lie, I am stunned at the speed. Absolutely stunned. This is unprecedented. We still have people in Taiwan, Singapore, Dubai, Qatar, who've been in prison for about the same reasons for years. And this took 9 months. So, if you do happen to travel abroad, the State Department offers you a free briefing to the local politics, what is going around. You can even sometimes attach places that they know are actually pretty decent. And if you ever are in need, if you do travel, please, the first thing you should always remember, besides where your hotel is located, is where the consulate or embassy is. That should be something also, All right, we have Jasmine up here. I'm going to go to her next. This is Jasmine. You could follow her at Harper XX Writes. She covers the WNBA, writing on the wings at Winsider. She has become a wonderful voice to the discourse here on the Hoop Spaces NBA Daily Show. Jasmine, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to pop in very briefly. Aside from the Celtics giving a can of whoop ass last night on the Brittney Griner situation, the WNBA community is elated right now. We are happy. We have her finally coming home. This has been a very stressful but also unprecedented incident with her going away and nobody knowing for like maybe the first month or 2 months that she was away, to them saying this is the situation with Brittney Griner, but we're not trying to bring light to it, to no, fuck that. We're going to go and say free Brittney Griner. We're going to force the president to force his hand to do different things, to whatever we can to get Brittney Griner home, and just showing support and advocacy for her wrongful detainment in Russia. So I just want to come on and say, like, if you don't have anything positive to say about the Brittney Griner situation, like, just don't say anything. Like, just kind of keep it moving today. Like, kind of what Chris and Damo explained so eloquently earlier. Although this is a W for BG, we are still in awe and saddened about the situation with Paul Whelan. So while we're happy for her, we're also still wanting him to be home as well. So it's okay to take the good with the bad in certain situations and be happy for BG, but still understand that there's another fight going on with Paul Whelan. So just wanted to come in and say thank you all for whoever has been out here advocating for Brittney Griner. Like, we appreciate it so much, and we're just happy to have her home.
Well said. And the last thing that I kind of want to add here, because we already did 15 and I wanted to keep it 15. Damo said it, like, don't treat it like a trade machine. Please be cognizant here. But you put on the adult pants and understand the position we were in. There was no other deal. You cannot make any other deal when the party across the table does not want to deal with you unless you give them what you want, give them what they want, right? That's what happened here. The moment that she was detained, the moment that she was arrested, charged, convicted, we were at the mercy of Russia. And they were not going to let her go until they got what they want. And this was an administration who recognized that, saw the value to 3 different communities, right? The greater African American community Black women in particular, is the second community, and the LGBTQ plus community. This is important to understand. This is what equity looks like. Okay? Equity doesn't mean fairness. Fairness in life is different from equity. Equity is how we treat things. Life is not fair. This was the best deal because it was the only deal. So for all those, because I know some are upset that we are releasing Victor Boot, please understand you can be upset while simultaneously being happy that Brittany Griner is home. It's really not that difficult. All right. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Damo. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to hit this button to do our early read. If you want to come on up, please raise those hands. Do me the favor. Like and retweet the show card and the Hoop Spaces review, the daily free newsletter where you get your game recaps, news and notes, player interviews from sources you can trust, as well as featuring some content creators here on Twitter Spaces. We're also getting ready to, I'm getting ready to try to spread to Instagram and LinkedIn. I actually even got one of these fancy social media software things. Look at me growing again. And it's going to be fun. So if you are on Instagram, we are there. We just haven't really been active. So go ahead and check out Instagram and find Hoop Spaces. And if you're on LinkedIn, you can as well. Brought to you by slamgoods.com. You can head over to slamgoods.com right now. Use promo code HoopSpaces. Save 15% on your entire purchase. I will get the tweet up with today's item in about 30 minutes. But to the victor goes the spoils, and there was no greater victor last night than the Boston Celtics. We will go to J.B. Fortis so he can get his rant off. Thank you, JB. And also, before he pops off, JB here is just the tip of the iceberg for what we will be doing here. Justin Patton is down below. He is our YouTube director. But JB is taking the opportunity to write out his rants, and we will publish one of his rants on hoopspaces.com as we also change Hoop Spaces. So we will open it up as an editorial board. So if you want to write, you have a home here if you already don't have a home for editorial and opinion pieces. Thank you, everybody. JB, host of NBA NFL Now. You can find that here on Twitter Spaces, 8 a.m. Listen to a madman scream into the nether of Twitter about his sports. JB, the floor is yours.
Okay, so before I even start, I want to say that you very eloquently put in very convincing terms the Brittany Griner situation, and thank God Brittany Griner is released and gets to go back to her family, and more importantly, gets to go back to her freedom. Now that we've had that moment of seriousness, I'm going to take it to a darker place. I'm going to upset the villagers, and I'm going to start by saying that in this world of climate change, of prisoner exchange, Hoop Spaces, both on Twitter and in Chris Barrett's daily newsletter, which you can subscribe to up above in the Jumbotron, is a gentle beach with perfect weather in the NBA Twitter universe, except for when I roll through. You can come to Hoop Spaces and have a reasonable take, and if there's conflict, it is spoken to you in gentle, dulcet tones. There is but one time a week when people get riled up, and that's usually JB's rant. Today, though, I am going to disrupt the villagers. I'm going to disrupt Chris. I'm going to attack their feelings in a new way that I have yet to hear Hoop Spaces do. And I've been coming to this show pretty much daily for the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And today I am going to use the present to attack the past. Through 26 games, the 21-5 Boston Celtics are the best team in the NBA, led by the best pair of wings in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum is 24 years old and is averaging 30.5 points on 48% shooting with 8.2 rebounds and 4.1 assists. Jaylen Brown is 26 years old. He's averaging 26.7 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, and 3.6% on 49.8% shooting. The critics out there would like to remind you that the Los Angeles Clippers have Kawhi Leonard, who has won 2 championships, one on the back of Parker, Ginobili, and Duncan, but whatever. and that Paul George came back from a gruesome knee injury, and look at all that he did in Oklahoma City. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, despite losing to the Orlando Magic last night, 111 to 116, are still better when healthy than Tatum and Brown. Reasonable minds laugh at that, but it is time to attack the unreasonable. Your memories of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are not even as good as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Your memories, your past, what you remember, are not as good. Let's start with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard sits every night now, but what about when he was 24, like Jason Tatum, and playing 31.8 points per game, before he lost his mind and laughed into a microphone, or went to the injury list and load management kick? When he was a Spur, he made the big leap, didn't he? Almost 5 points a game. He averaged 21.2 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 2.6 points per game that year. Or as I like to think of it, 9 points fewer, 1.4 rebounds fewer, and a full assist fewer than Jason Tatum. Maybe we should advance to his 26-year-old season and compare him to Jaylen Brown. And in that season, by the way, he played 74 games. That was the year when he averaged 25.5 points per game, 5.8 points rebounds per game, and 3.5 assists per game. Or as I like to think of it, 1.2 points less per game, 1.3 rebounds less per game, and 0.1 assists more per game than Jaylen Brown is averaging right now. In Kawhi's very best year offensively, the one in 2019, he averaged 27.1 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, and 4.9 assists per game. Numbers that are less than Jason Tatum is averaging right now. He also played only 57 games with the Clippers that year, but whatever. I led with Kawhi because it's more cruel to do the exercise with Paul George, who had his gruesome knee injury in the 24-year-old season. But let's try and remember Paul at age 23, before the knee injury. At 23, George averaged 17.4 points per game, 7.6 rebounds a game, and 4.1 assists per game. Those numbers tie with Jason Tatum, with what Jason Tatum is doing right now in assists. They're 13 points less per game, and it's significantly less rebounds per game. Paul George had fully recovered by his age 26 season to average 23.1 points per game, 6.6 rebounds per game, and 3.3 assists a game, which by this point, hopefully you know, are all less than what Jason Tatum is doing right now. And I imagine you can guess that those numbers are all worse than what Jaylen Brown is doing right now. In fact, Paul George's almost MVP year, when he was 28 years old, he averaged 28 points per game, 4.1 assists per game, and 8.1 rebounds, which would tie Jason Tatum right now in assists. It would still be 2.5 points less per game. It would still be 0.1 less rebounds per game. Kawhi Leonard has the Toronto championship, and no one will ever be able to take that away from him when he was the best player on an NBA championship team, just like no one will ever be able to take away the one championship he won with San Antonio, where he was the finals MVP following beating the still overrated Miami Heat, and give it to Paul George, who has never played in an NBA Finals despite having Kawhi on his team. And that's why you think what you think, because you watched the NBA Finals. But that's going to be the only positive argument ever for why Kawhi Leonard measures up to Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. And the good news is you'll be making that argument from your chair in the same way that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George do, because neither one of them can ever play a regular season. And if you visit slamgoods.com and use the promo code HoopSpaces to save 15% on your purchase, you'll have an opportunity to relive those memories because they sell those memories. Meanwhile, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are coming with their 21-5 record, and I am here to say that the bandwagon is getting a little more crowded, but there's still room. If you're a Clippers or a Mavericks fan and you can see the writing on the wall, please join us. You don't have to join forever. You can join us just for this season. If you're a Lakers fan who just watched the Lakers last night, led by Thomas Bryant, there's room on this bandwagon for you. If you subscribe to the Hoop Spaces feed on YouTube, you can see the videos in which Jaylen Brown is getting a game pass, for going 28-8, because apparently that's a bad game for Jaylen Brown. You can also, there are other options. You can also go to the Bucks bandwagon if you're a hater and you believe that the series would have been different for you if only you had Chris Middleton. But I am the ice cold water. I am here to remind you that you don't live in a universe where the Bucks had Chris Middleton. You live in a universe where the Celtics beat the Bucks, and you live in a time stream where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are better than Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
This is
That
amazing. This is
was
amazing.
good. That was
That was
good.
amazing.
You snapped. I love
That
it.
was good.
Go off.
Did it take you all night to write that shit?
Man, give
2
him
hours this morning.
That's built up. No, that's built up.
Yo, Chris,
good.
you should put him on the Hoop Spaces the editorial board, whatever you were talking about in the beginning.
Well, yeah. Bakari, I kind of said that, like, opening up the rant.
I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest. I just paid attention for his rant.
That is just horrible, Bakari. All right, everybody. I urge you to go ahead and shoot JB a follow. You'll be reading and hearing more of his rants as a segment feature here on Hoop Spaces. Absolutely phenomenal job. Thank you. If anybody has anything to say to that, I dare you to try because you know what? I mean, you ain't wrong. I remember when the season opened up, everybody's like, this is the year. This is the year that Kawhi and PG will still be Kawhi and PG. We'll go to Damo first, then we'll introduce everybody around the table. I will go ahead and say the scores, and we'll get this basketball talk on. Damo, what you got?
I, as always, am only here to validate Kawhi Leonard hate. So I just want to say, JB, kudos to you, sir. That's all I wanted to say. I've been on record a few times saying that we should have took Jimmy Butler with the 15th overall pick in that draft. We would have been in a much better place. So, yeah, man, kudos to you, man. Kudos to you. And Kawhi Leonard is nothing but the best role player in NBA history. I'm just Draymond and Steve Kerr better role players than him.
Oh, man, that is killer. All right, last night, full slate of games, great games, bad
Micah?
games.
Wait a minute, Micah's had his hand up. What about?
Well, I know. He's had his hand up. He's got to wait though. Like, I'm behind schedule. It's kind of how it rolls. The Clippers lose to the Magic 116-111. Nets beat the Hornets 122-116. The Knicks proved that Julius Randle would be great on the Phoenix Suns 113-89 over the Atlanta Hawks. The Toronto Raptors. You know what? Real quick about the Hawks. Shout out to Tony Schwartz, NBA, put out a tweet yesterday, 2 days ago, because all the people were comparing Trae Young to Steph Curry when Carmelo Anthony was right there. I want to give him a point. Raptors over the Lakers, 126-113. Bulls, 115-111 over the Wizards. The Grizzlies behind a triple-double of Ja Morant, 123-102. And look, they're starting to figure out how to win without Desmond Bane. And Desmond Bane will probably be back completely healthy and rested in about a month. Bucks beat the Kings 126-113. Timberwolves are beating the Pacers to the point where I was like, hey, we really need to have this conversation again. Are the Timberwolves just better without Karl Anthony Towns? 121-115. The Pelicans on a bad game beat the Pistons 105-98. Shout out Zion Williamson. Shaking off a bear hug to see Corey Joseph, who was holding on to dear life. Like, his life flashed before his eyes the moment he tried to wrap his arms around that young man. The Warriors somehow figure out how to lose to the Jazz 124-123. And the aforementioned Boston Celtics from JB's rant housed the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul coming back 125-98. And if you look up top, ladies and gentlemen, the poll that is up there already, the question that I asked in this game, is it time for the Phoenix Suns to bring Chris Paul off the bench? We got 6 of the 12 who's getting ready to queue up to come up when there's a space available. If you want to come on up, raise your hand, please. I ask that you like and retweet the show card. Check out the Hoop Spaces review. If you don't watch every game, we watch it for you. You can read the recaps and never miss out on the action. Free. Absolutely 100% free. Free with an email. All right, there we go. We will then say good morning to Micah. Micah is in the building. Micah, I have no idea what you're going to say, as the Mavs did not play basketball yet. Here you are. Good morning.
Oh, good morning to you, Chris. Well, first thing off, man, thank God for bringing BG home, man. It is awesome. I am so happy. is actually she represents, because of the situation, another community, and I think that's something that we eventually need to have an honest conversation as far as the laws in our own country, right? Because of the fact of her being wrongly detained for cannabis, and we still have that same issue all over our country. So great for that. Hopefully that starts that conversation, but I'm glad she's home. Um, First off, like, okay, Chris, all right, so wait a minute. Did you say the Wizards got beat by the woeful Chicago Bulls? I thought he was flourishing without Luka. What happened?
He still had a great game. He just didn't hit any threes.
Right. Yeah.
Kristaps Porzingis led all scorers in that game, 28 points, 9 rebounds. But they lost the game to DeMar DeRozan, who had 12 points in the fourth quarter. Go ahead and finish up the good morning.
Oh, okay. So the other good morning, and like you were saying, yet again, we're seeing the all-time heralded coach Ty Lue with Kawhi and PG on the court took an L to the Magic. So I ask yet again, are we going to have the conversation about Doc Rivers wrongfully taking flack for people that fall apart in the worst moment, in the worst moments? I think that's the discussion. And one more thing. Oh, it is always a great day to see the Suns get mollywopped. Oh, it is great. But at the same time, we got to have this conversation, Chris.
All right.
So the gap between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is a half an assist, 1 rebound, and 4 points. So if you are a voter and you are considering voting Jason Tatum for MVP, yet at the same time you played a part in 2 top 10 players of all time only having 1 MVP because they played together, do better. That's all I'm going to say. Leave it at that.
Appreciate it. All right.
Reply to something that he said.
Real quick. Keep it 30.
Yeah, I can keep it 30. Doc Rivers doesn't deserve any blame for Kawhi Leonard or Paul George not living up to their maximum ability. That's nonsense. He's a great coach.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. But there are people out there who keep saying that, he collapsed 3-1. And I'm sitting here like, well, I didn't realize he was responsible for the players not executing. Anyway, I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hoop Spaces. 34 minutes in. It's a little bit of a different show because we opened up with the breaking news about an hour prior that Brittany Griner had been released due to a prisoner swap. Going back to basketball, up on stage, we have E.K. Johnson, TJ, 6 of the 12, my brother, Sam Spalding on the 1s and 2s, J.B. Fortis, host of NBA Now, NFL Now, and the marquee speaker of JB Rants. Micah, we've got Ralph, and we've got Can't Cancel, It's Not Activated, which is a very peculiar name. It kind of worries me because I have no idea what he's going to say. And, of course, 6 of the 12, who's here to spread the Trey Murphy III is better than Brandon Ingram propaganda. But first, we will go to say good morning to my brother Sam, who's been kind of MIA, but he's here to talk his Bulls smack because they won last night, 115-111 over the Washington Wizards. Sam, good morning.
Good morning, bro. I got time today. I took the whole day off. I'm happy that I'm elated, beyond elated that the saga that has been the whole Brittany Griner thing is over, because I felt like it was wrong from the beginning, and it's a reason that I'm never going to Russia. I don't have a desire to, or have any measure of reasons to. Looking at everything that's happened, it shouldn't have happened. Not for that, not for those reasons. We know that the powers that be and all of that stuff, and I'll let everybody else get into the politicals of the politicals. But I'm just happy that she's coming home. We gave up what we needed to give up, and we made the the choice that was needed to be made. So I don't fault nobody on any side, but we got a great one back. I'm happy she's here, and hopefully she has already touched down, and it's just gonna be going forward. Like I can't wait to see her back on the court and just being able to do what she does, and just be great in the way that she's been. Um, when I look around the league and I just see everything, like I have a different conversation, but I wanted to wait until Nat came up to actually talk about the whole Celtics thing because I can't. Me being a Lakers fan, I can't root for the Celtics, but I can also respect greatness when I see it. And I want to have a conversation about that, but I want to have that with you and Nat if Nat is available to talk. So I just leave that for a little bit. But I'm here, bro.
All right. We'll go next to EK. EK Johnson, Coalition Hoops over on Instagram, ladies and gentlemen. EK, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Wonderful, man. Wonderful. To everyone in the space. Want to start the morning by obviously saying congrats to Brittany Griner for being released after being wrongfully detained in Russia. We also definitely confide with the family of Paul Whelan. But today is a day of celebration, and I'm super, super happy that she's home and she'll be able to play again in the upcoming WNBA season. That's going to be really, really good. But speaking to the I guess the games that happened last night, we got to give some love to Bol Bol. I know you've been on the Bol Bol train, Chris, pretty much since the beginning of the year. I think he is probably a part of the best 6-20 team in the history of the NBA. When you look at his stats from last year, he was averaging like 2.4 points, 1 point something rebounds in like 6 minutes per game. Now he's averaging 12 and a half, 7.5, I'm sorry, 7.5 rebounds and 1.8 blocks, which is, I believe, 5th overall in the NBA this year in like 26, 27 minutes per game. So got to give some love to Bol Bol. And also on the college side, although Toronto beat down a very, very lackluster Lakers team without some of their guys, we also got to give some love to the Toronto big man that played Boilermakers, Zach Edey, who put up a smooth 23 and 18 last night against Hofstra. He's looking like a National Player of the Year candidate. But yeah, we're gonna get into some more basketball, probably on the college and NBA side later on. But just wanted to say good morning to everybody, and those are my opening morning sentiments.
Yeah, I'm telling you, EK, like there's a path here if you want to do some college, and if you are passionate about college basketball, we could definitely talk a little bit about that offline. We'll go to TJ next, as I think TJ is getting ready to get on the road, and I want to make sure we can hear him loud and clear, because when we do talk about colleges, I have to ask, how is he surviving his UNC Tar Heels, and then how is he surviving after the cat flashed again? Man, like, did you know the Warriors are tied for first for receiving the cat, TJ? Good morning. How are you feeling after that Utah Jazz sucker punch?
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody. First off, yeah, it was like I hate to use this term, bipolar. I went from the highest elation to like the worst kind of rant, cussing, throwing stuff in less than 15 seconds. But we'll get into that a little later. I am on the road currently, but I'm kind of off to the side, just chilling. Glad that Brittany Griner is coming home. I don't have anything other than that to say. I'm just glad that whole saga is done with. But yeah, I'm just here just to say, hey, I hope you feel better, Chris. I know how that is. I just got over a similar situation a couple of weeks ago. But if you're ready to talk about the Warriors, just key me in. I'm ready to go. I got a whole bunch on my mind.
Oh, no, you can do it right now.
Oh, okay, cool. So 7 scorers from Utah in double digits, and we were still in the game with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. You had the technical foul, the ejection by Clarkson against Kuminga, who had a phenomenal game. And then we fumbled the bag in less than 30 seconds. Of course, we didn't have Steph Curry. We didn't have Draymond Green. We didn't have Wiggins. But we had some solid performers. We had Jordan Poole. We had Clay, even though he was shooting just crazy shots, but he ended up with 22 points. And Kuminga. The one thing that was really frustrating for me in this entire game Wiseman was brought up from the G League, he only got 5 minutes. And in the 5 minutes that he played, he looked pretty decent. He did have a -3. I don't know why we still do the plus minus, but in the 5 minutes that he played in the first, I think it was the first quarter, he played well. Didn't see the court the rest of the day. Moses Moody, spot minutes here or there, had a great performance. Didn't really get that much run. The thing that really frustrated me was Ty Jerome. There was 2 inbound plays in the last 15 seconds where he, one, couldn't get the ball inbounded, so he had to call timeout. The second part was when he threw a bounce pass to Jordan Poole in the final seconds of the game. Instead of securing the ball, he tried to do something. He got it stripped, and the rest is history. I'm really kind of in the sentiment of some of these Warriors fans that are constantly getting on Steve Kerr about his game management skills, and it's really showing this year. I think that Mike Brown is one of the reasons why the Warriors were doing so well in certain situations like this, where they could, play some great defense, make a stop or two. But I think right now Steve Kerr is trying to figure out stuff, and he's really relying on certain individuals. And I'm not trying to bash people, but JaMychal Green, Anthony Lamb, those players are not getting the job done. So let's get these young dubs some opportunities. This is going to be a nasty game against the Celtics on Saturday, but if we win, I might actually change my AV. I'm gonna be in the bushes for a while. I'm gonna be really in the bushes for a while. This might be the last time you hear from me, at least this year. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. The Warriors are mid. In the words of Sean with the W, I'm embracing it, and I'm gonna just try to just keep it pushing, man. That's all I got.
All right, hey, make sure y'all shoot TJ follow so you can try to help drag him out of the bushes. I mean, it's bad. It's bad when you have the defending champions and the greatest player of all time for some struggling.
Hey, Chris,
Struggling.
Can I ask TJ one question?
Absolutely. If you have a question for the Warriors, TJ's up here. Go ahead, Sam.
All right, so TJ, at this point, do you think that Wiseman is a bust? If you was the GM for the team, would you say that he's a bust?
Who, Wiseman?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's not a bust. I think he has phenomenal abilities. I think the system that they put him in, initially he wasn't grasping it, but they sent him down to the G League. He looked very well. I think he belongs on the low post. For some reason, I feel like the Warriors want to put him in the high post and pick and roll actions where he really is dominant down at the base. But I would not trade him for anything. No, personally, I'm a wise guy.
I didn't. I didn't say trade him. I'm just saying, just at the prospect that you picked, at the position that you picked, and we now 2.5, close to 3 years in, and he still ain't shown his potential.
But he missed 2 years, Sam.
I was gonna say he was injured for a majority of it too.
Okay, so Greg, I ain't even finna go there. I get
Sam, I'm with you. It sounds like a whole lot of excuses.
Oh no. And then the other thing was if you look at his draft class, what we were gonna go with Ant-Man. I mean, you had the top 2 picks. It was a pretty weak draft class. It was either him or Wiseman. And at the time of our draft, we needed a big. We needed someone to back up Looney. I wouldn't have done anything differently if I was a GM.
Greg Oden was also looked at as, the prospect, and he turned out to be a bust.
Well, that was microfracture surgery at a time that microfractures weren't able to be healed from.
Chris, I'm not asking you to chime in. This ain't I'm asking TJ.
Also, if you look at that draft class, Portland needed a big as well. I would have picked Durant because he was balling out of Texas. But you also got to look at the situation that both of these teams are in.
But I'm sticking with Wiseman. 2.5 years is a leeway for a lot of young players. But he's getting the leeway and he's giving grace. But what has he actually shown on the court?
Yeah,
How
but
many minutes has he gotten in the 2 years that he's played? Like, you
yeah,
have to
that's
also
not
look at
really
it that way.
fair. It's not really fair because, like, if you miss an entire year, which is what he did,
Chris,
no,
you
you're
just
you're
said
putting him in a corner. That's wrong because, like you're saying, he's been in the league
equity
3
is not
years,
fair.
but he's only played 51 games.
Equity is not fair.
Well, no, equity is not fairness, but this is a wild existence. This is a show that is directed for facts, and you're trying to paint
I'm
a
not trying to
facade.
point it. I'm just
Not
looking
point,
at it.
paint a facade.
I'm not painting a facade. I'm just looking at what it actually is. So like when I'm looking at what it actually is versus where they picked him, when they picked him, and how they picked him, versus what he's produced in the 3 years that they've had him.
But the
Under any
issue,
other
Sam, is how do you judge a player on 51 games?
The most important ability is availability, first and foremost.
Yeah, but I've got no problem with that, Sean.
Yeah, like it's
So it's fair to say
availability.
he's a bust at this point. It's fair. You're the
How?
number 2 pick. You're
No,
the number
I'm
2
just
pick in
asking
the
a
draft.
question.
You played 51 games. You're a bust.
In 3 years.
You played
Yeah,
51
but I
games.
get. But if
I
that's
don't
the
care
case,
I don't
so
care why he hasn't. It doesn't matter
that would make Joel Embiid a bust until he played.
If you
Yeah,
told me, yes. If you
You
had this
told me for
conversation,
years that you didn't trust the process.
Well, I
yeah.
don't. I never
Yeah,
did.
If you had
but
told
it-
me
but
after
until-
3 years, if he had played 51 games, and you said he's a bust, like, yeah, because he played 51 games. And he was a number 3 pick in the draft. This is not what I signed up for.
All right. I judge it on the games played on this aspect. I just think it's an incomplete. Now, if he ends up playing next year and he's only averaging 7 points or 5 boards, yeah, I'm with you.
No,
And I'll agree with that as well. I think if we give him a full season and he's doing the same thing, I will be on record and say that he is a bust. But until then, I'm a wise guy until it's done deal.
He can undo it. I'm not saying he's a bust forever, but as of right now, this is not what the Golden State Warriors signed up for.
Oh, absolutely. We'll
I'm
give
just
you
saying,
that.
As of right now, he's worse than Andrew Bynum.
What?
I'm cool with that.
That makes what are you doing, Sam? What? Bringing up Andrew Bynum for? You everywhere.
Nah, I'm just messing with y'all.
Let me get Ralph in here. Ralph, how you doing?
I'm good, boss. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. It's a different show. Kind of got usurped by some good news, which is a good thing this morning with Brittany Griner. So the show's flowing a little bit differently. And then Sam's here, and he's wanting to talk about Andrew Bynum apparently.
Well, I just wanted you asked the question about should the Suns think about benching CP3. I don't think they should because I don't think they have anyone better. But I peeped that you're a Sixers fan. I wanted to ask you, should you guys consider benching Harden? So
Absolutely.
Maxey, are you with that? Because I think Maxey's the key, honestly, for the Sixers. I think you're seeing in the league how these young legs are kind of taking over these older guys. Not older guys. I don't want to call James Harden or Stephen Curry or even Thompson or Durant old, but just older guys who have more work towards their legs and all. You're seeing the young legs kind of take over. I feel like playing Harden less, playing Maxey more for a team like Philly would kind of push them over the edge and really have a good second half of the season because they're not so bad. I just think they need a little more dynamic to their game. And I think it would help out Tobias Harris even more with Maxey playing more over Harden. So just to your CP3 question, I just think I don't hear a lot about should the Sixers bench Harden. I just think that should happen in Philly if they really want to, I think, make a run this year.
Well, yeah, no, I've been saying it, and people are laughing at me early in the season that James Harden and Tyrese Maxey play the same position, and what we have is a problem with ball movement because they both just dribble the hell out the ball, right? If you put Harden on the bench, he has the ability to be the singular focal point on offense, similar to what he did at Houston, driving the bench unit at 26 to 28 minutes, per game. When Maxey's out, or when Maxey can then be deferred to the second guard. And then that frees up the ball movement that we saw without him in the lineup, right? The Sixers' best ball movement of the season came with James Harden out on injury. That's not a coincidence. Let's be honest. He dribbles the ball. He has 3 moves, and that's it. They're great moves. He's effective. He gets volume stats, but you sacrificed ball movement. And that's also the same with Phoenix. So you say they don't have anybody better, but sometimes it's not about better. It's about different. Cameron Payne, who, by the way, would be a bust and was laughed out and people said would be out the league, has had a resurgence in Phoenix. And since, Chris Paul is out, 29 points, 17, 21, 11, 16, 11. He's only had 3 bad games with 5, 8, and 5, 20 points, 14, and 12. And the dude's been putting up about 7 assists per game. Right? Phoenix played through Devin Booker. They played faster. They played with better ball movement spread amongst all the players, as opposed to a central controlled offense that Chris Paul. So in my view, it's the same situation. You have an even older player in Chris Paul coming off of a heel injury, which is going to take time to actually come back from it. If you don't believe me, please go look at what Tony Parker looked like towards the end of his career when he started having heel injuries, because that's what's happening. You put him on the bench, he can come out, doesn't have to play at full speed because he's playing on the bench unit. His sole job becomes keeping the offensive momentum going, just like Russell Westbrook is doing in Los Angeles. And it actually makes the Phoenix Suns a more consistent offense, which is what their problem has been when Chris Paul's been playing. That's why I asked that question, Ralph. Appreciate your thoughts. Make sure you actually add that down in the chat box and see what other people think of your thought about James Harden. I don't want to take credit away from you. We'll go to T-Rexy next. T-Rexy, good morning, man. Congratulations on barely beating the Charlotte Hornets. We'll get your take and then go up to Malika Walker.
Man. I'm going to talk to them yesterday, man. That was a beautiful win yesterday. But shout out to Brittany Griner. She's funny, but President of the United States, President, you're not done yet. We got to get more people out of the country. I hope Brittany Griner will never play Russia ever again. Don't really think about going back to Russia. None of that. Secondly, I feel bad for Ben Gordon, former NBA player Ben Gordon. He need help, man. He started stabbing people in New York City, man, with a screwdriver. That's a scary situation, man. I think but good thing he went to the hospital. He got to get his mind checked, man. And lastly, Ben 10 and my guy Utah coming back on Friday. Let's go, man. We go tomorrow. Can't wait. Let's do it good with a homestand. Hope it keeps up, man. Gotta get back to work.
All right, I appreciate you, T-Rexy, and also coming up talking about Ben Gordon. Ben Gordon, my heart hurts for Ben Gordon. There was a piece he wrote in the Players Tribune a couple years ago that brought me to tears. As a combat vet, I am personally affected by suicide. I've lost friends and people I served with to suicide. And he wrote a very poignant essay where he came clean about his mental health in regards to his suicidal thoughts and his actions. And if you've never read it, I'm going to warn you, it is an uncomfortable read for some. But if you check out just Ben Gordon Players Tribune on your Google machine, you'll be able to read it. And my heart bleeds for him. I am so distraught at what's happened. And mental health is real. And unfortunately for Ben, this is a horrible circumstance that's honestly out of his control. And for those who are affected, like I hope, I pray that you are healing well, and that you are not traumatized and scarred irrevocably for life. It's if you've seen some of the footage, it's scary. So shout out Ben Gordon. We do hope he gets the help that he does need. Appreciate you, T-Rexy. Last night, the Hornets and Nets did battle 122-116 over the Charlotte Hornets. Kelly Oubre Jr. Has had a renaissance by necessity. Terry Rozier is continuing his consistent play. They combined for 57 points. All starters for Charlotte actually scored in double figures. Mason Plumlee with a double-double. Jaden Daniels finally starting to pop and put things together. I think he's going to end Gordon Hayward's tenure in Charlotte. PJ Washington kind of struggled with his shot again, but he's still out there actually kind of being Mr. Do Everything. And the biggest problem they have is they just don't have a bench. If Nick Richards doesn't pop and Kai Jones doesn't pop, they've got nothing. Bruce McGowan was a second-round pick. He's still adjusting to the speed of the NBA. Teo Maladon is rather limited. JT Thor, I mean, now if you want to talk about, now we stop. We won't even go there. JT Thor just doesn't have it right now. I think he would actually probably be better going to Greensboro to get some extra run. It's a bad team. But the fact that they continue to fight and play teams difficult is a credit to Steve Clifford. So we want to give him a shout out because he was much maligned in returning after Coach Borrego was fired. But he is doing what he's supposed to do, which is reaching his team and getting them to buy in and try to fight for 38 plus minutes a night. Malika Walker, you watched this game, Nets pre and post game. It was absolutely dope. What are your thoughts on the game? What did you see? What did you hear?
First of all, I will say that Hornets have 4 injured players. So, like, I wouldn't say, maybe you would and other people would, I wouldn't say they're a bad team. Because some of these games they would have won if they had their full team. And I'm not even mentioning Miles Bridges because who knows where he's going to end up in the league next year, but where. But I think they could have pulled this game out had they had at least LaMelo on the court. And they didn't. So they're playing basically with Kelly's being forced to step up. Terry's being forced to step up. PJ is not consistent. Actually, Kelly's been the most consistent because Terry Rozier hasn't been. And he's been forced to step up. It is also his contract year. And it's also PJ's contract year, but we won't go there. Kelly's going to get some money where he goes the next time. With all that said, I am a Nets fan. So I'm happy the Nets won the game. And I'm happy the Hornets actually fought in the second half. So they got the loss, but they showed some fight. So, and they fight consistently. So that bad team moniker you gave them, Chris, I reject that. They were a bad team. They wouldn't be fighting as hard as they do in these games when they're supposed to be taking according to people. I will say with the Nets, I was disappointed. With all that said, I was disappointed the game was as tight as it was, especially when you look at who Charlotte has on the bench and the fact that Charlotte really doesn't have a bench right now. Why was this game so close? And it comes down to the third quarter. That third quarter, sometimes with the Nets, we don't come out with the fire and with the desire that we need, or our shots not hitting the way they should be. Maybe the rotations aren't what they need to be. But the Hornets put some size on the floor at one point, and we didn't have the right lineup to match up with them. And Kelly and Terry started hitting their shots, and we just weren't doing the greatest job in that third quarter to kind of put a stop to that. And it continued on into the fourth. But because the Hornets are so young, one of the things that happens is they have a trouble closing games. They don't have that dominant player on the floor to me. Because Kelly can sometimes, but he makes dumb decisions sometimes when he's in a stressful situation. They don't have that player that knows how to take control at the end of the game. So they have a habit of losing these tight games at the end of the game. So I knew with the Nets being as seasoned as they are, even if they were trying to give the game away, if it's close, they'll be able to pull it out. And that's what happened last night. But I'm disappointed it was so tight. I wasn't happy with our third quarter play mainly. And Kevin Durant continued to, he didn't play as many, like Jack Vaughn is doing a good job of not playing him as many minutes if he can. He does. But I was hoping, because we have a back-to-back coming up, I was hoping that Terry, like that KD and Kyrie would get a little bit more rest. But we do have some people coming off injury list soon, Ben and Yuta, which will help. But I'm not happy the game was so tight. The fact that the game was so tight is very mid, considering that we should have had enough for this to be a decisive win. And then when you look over at Boston, Jesus, it's like Boston's playing in a whole Nats team, and I don't know if she's still here. Nats team is playing in a whole different stratosphere right now. So my thing is, I hope they have it at the end of the year, man. But they are playing like great. They are
Yeah.
clearly the best team in the league right now, but it's December. So, let's let them keep that up through the year.
All right. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not watching a game with me on playback, you need to be here, or you need to be here before you come on playback, because right here you'll have an opportunity to join Malika on the Rewind Pod, where she'll be hosting Derek Stein and Half Court Heat, two friends of mine who are also Sixers fans, to talk about Allen Iverson and the era that was. And as a Sixers fan, let me explain something to you. Like, he did not win a championship. But he is more revered now, currently, than almost every player in the history of the 76ers. Maybe only Dr. J, throughout the league's view of him, might hold a higher status. He literally changed how Philadelphia played basketball and operated as a franchise. His impact still resonates today throughout the entire league and pop culture. So come through and talk with Malika, Derek, and Al about the Allen Iverson era in Philadelphia. Is there anything that you're looking forward to specifically tonight to touch on, Malika?
I really want to touch on with Philly fans, because I love Allen Iverson, but I'm not in the market, right? I'm not in the Philly. I'm not a Sixers fan. Talk about what was it about Iverson on that team that, really connected so much with Philly to this day. I ask some of my friends who are Philly fans who their all-time Sixers are. They never say they have Embiid as 5, but they're going to say Dr. J. They're going to say Allen Iverson. They say Embiid, but it's not one of the first names. They talk about Iverson is usually the first name that comes out, and then Dr. J. Why is that? So I want to get to the bottom of that, and who on that Sixers team could have stepped up more to help out Iverson so they could get some wins. Or what, let's talk about the makeup of that team that surrounded Iverson. So those are the things I want to get into, because he didn't win a championship. Why? Why didn't he win a championship? Was it Iverson? Was it his mix with Larry Brown? Because we know that was toxic. What was it? So let's talk. We're going to talk about it as a family and reminisce about the Iverson era.
Yeah,
what didn't, and the good and the bad. So
yeah, Larry Brown. Oh man, could be having convos about Larry.
Would you have liked to have as a coach? Larry Brown right now or Doc Rivers?
Doc Rivers. I look, my trouble with Larry Brown is Larry Brown thinks he's bigger than the game. He always has, and I never really appreciated that.
I've always wanted to ask this question. Malika.
Yes.
What up, sis?
What's up?
I'm digging the new AVI.
Thank you.
So, do you think that Iverson would have had better results if, had he had Phil Jackson or Pat Riley?
My thing is, I don't know if Shaq. One thing Shaq said he's always been consistent with is he wanted a coach that could take them to championship level. And when Phil told him what he needed to do, he did it. Was Iverson in the mental space to do that for an entire season in playoffs? And I don't know the answer to that.
I would say yes, but that entails to also say, I remember the finals vividly, and I remember after game 1, I know exactly where I was. I was at Dave & Buster's sitting at the bar with my friend Joe, and I looked at Joe and I said, yo, the Sixers need to trade AI this offseason. Now, mind you, this is in Philly, and literally everybody at the bar stopped and looked at me. And what I saw watching in that finals is the same thing I see in Dallas today. Is the team itself does not fit what the star player needs consistently. And so what they did is they tried to swing it all to defense and then live and die with AI on offense. Because we wouldn't have gotten there without Aaron McKie, Eric Snow, and Dikembe Mutombo playing the predominant minutes, bringing in Theo Ratliff and a couple others at the 4, right? But there was no offense, and there never was going to be offense. And Larry Brown was the one who made that decision.
So
And,
you
and
think
go ahead.
so? You know for a fact that Larry Brown made that decision.
Larry Brown made every roster decision.
Okay. So like even in looking
Okay, I
at
didn't know
that
that part.
but even in looking at that series, like we talking about a young Kobe who was going against not only the opponent but also still butting heads with Shaq on a
Yeah, but and
consistent
Shaq
daily
was on the court
basis.
too, right?
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying like he's butting heads with Shaq over who's gonna be the alpha. Like they have opportunities, but like when you talk about everybody else that was on that team that year for the Lakers, like nobody else was like bona fide and didn't have nicknames and didn't have like like Rob Ory wasn't Big Shot Rob yet. Like he hadn't earned that, even though he had been in several different places. And you had Rick Fox and Derek Fisher, and ain't nobody thinking about those guys. But it's like yeah, like he had somebody that was like that could ride with him and that could put up numbers. But that was the series that Kobe kind of emerged, if my memory served me correctly. And I can
Well,
be, I'm just saying if my memory served me correctly.
No, I know. It's just we opened up talking Sixers because Malik is hosting a Sixers space, and then now somehow you've gone once again back to the Lakers.
No, I'm still on the Sixers.
Sam is
still
gonna
on the
find a
Sixers
way.
thing.
Yep.
No, on the Sixers thing. So like Eric Snow was a problem. Like all of these guys were problems.
But did they fit the star play? Did they fit the players that were needed to play with Iverson?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great discussion that everybody should tune in tonight.
Join us tonight. Bring this question tonight, Sam. Bring this question tonight. It's in the Jumbotron and join us as we have this chat. This is part of the chat. I didn't, it wasn't meant to take place now.
Oh, you're fine.
But
I just want to remind everybody that Eric Snow never averaged more than 12 points per game. I just throwing that out there.
I think people remember the potential of Eric Snow, like and what he could have been. Yeah, because when Eric Snow came in, but
he was the non-shooting Derek Fisher. I'm just gonna say it. He was the non-shooting Derek Fisher.
Yeah, but he stole more than Derek Fisher.
Derek Fisher passed more. And by the way, he didn't really steal more. He had like 3 good years. 3. Anyway, we're moving on. We got hands up. We'll go to the hands first. We'll go first to can't cancel what's not activated. God, that's a long name. I'm just going to say can't.
Yo, Chris, what's going on?
Not much. How you doing?
I love this whole situation. I'm glad to be able to finally join you on it. And thank you for your service. One, about the Iverson thing, I wasn't going to touch on it, but somebody brought it up. And I guess I'm showing my age a little bit here. Iverson didn't need anybody around him. AI was just that great. Maybe one more player, maybe he needed a Pippen to him, maybe. But that team played to the NBA championship. I think that's important to remember here. They played to the NBA championship against Shaq in his prime. That's no easy task. It's probably the only reason why AI doesn't have a ring. He's averaging almost 40 points a game in one stretch. So Eric Snow didn't need to be able to score. He needs to be able to not turn the ball over because AI was also prone to turning the ball. But the reason why I joined your podcast today, your comedy spaces here today, one, it was the Brittany Griner release. I'm always happy that someone's out from behind bars. I don't want anybody behind bars for anything whatsoever. But in our celebration for that, we have to be mindful of the victims that Victor is responsible for. We have to be mindful that our people that he affected, that reaches past what our comprehension is in what he was doing. So that's what I want to say about that. And be careful not to tell people to suppress their voices simply because we don't agree. I'm a firm believer, and as a veteran myself, that people have the right to speak up, even if we don't agree. We have the right to be able to hear what they have to say, and they should be able to say that in any kind of space, especially here. Back to basketball, I'm a Heat fan. Been a Heat fan since '94. I am ticked off. I'm trying to figure out who wants Bam so we could blow this thing up and start over. This is it. I feel like they've been dragging it on from the bubble, and this is me as a Heat fan. I'm a long-time Heat fan, but I think people are really clinging on to that bubble run for dear life, and it's not the same team. We are a different team. This is not the team that took Boston to Game 7. Boston won that game. One thing I do hate in the narrative here in Miami is that we're a shot away from the championship. No, we lost Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals and did not make it to the championship for the second year in a row. That's it. I feel like that was the peak, and it's time to blow things up. If you want to keep Jimmy, great. I love Jimmy, but a lot of these players, it's time to go. That's what I'm going to say. Anybody got any rebuttals?
All right, I appreciate it. And as a fellow vet, I appreciate your service. Thank you for everything that you've done, man.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to go next to Micah, and then we got Sky Davis, ladies and gentlemen, Air Jets trademarked. And then I want to say a big what's up to Dr. Dooley, who came out and honestly said waffles are better than French toast, which is better than crepes, which is better than toast, which is better than pancakes. So close to being perfect. French toast is supreme, then waffles. But the most important fact, ladies and gentlemen, pancakes are the worst. Thank you, everybody. Micah, go ahead.
By pancakes, you mean floppy bread?
Exactly. If you wake up and you are starting your day with loose floppy bread, you are being unserious.
Oh, man. I wanted to touch on something that we were talking about earlier as far as James Wiseman. Look, people forget that he was drafted to a way different situation than almost any number 2 overall pick is going to be drafted into. And the fact of the matter is whenever you are that high of a pick, you're usually going to a garbage team, and you have a chance to develop your game, to make rookie mistakes. And because he ended up in a situation due to injuries on the Warriors that he just hasn't had the time, you add that along with injuries, that also plays a part. And look, Chris, I'm going to say it. We see some of these guys that make these giant leaps their first or second year in the league, and we start thinking that's normal. That is not normal, man. Like, I remember they asked a lot of the Warriors players, how long was it before you felt like you could add to winning games? And almost all of them said 3 to 4 seasons. So after just 2 seasons of not even really playing, to just declare him a bust at this stage, I think is unfair. But that's my take.
All right, appreciate it. Look, I'm telling you, if you want to come on up, go ahead and raise the hands. There's a couple people who have their hands raised, and I want to make sure that we can get to as many people as possible. I want to thank all of you for being here today in the space. But more importantly, I want to thank those who are here every day. We would not be here if it wasn't for you, like John, right? He's here almost every day supporting the cause. Evan is here, Swish, T. McGrady, Justin, Jose, who are definitely some of the dopest content creators I've come across here on Twitter. Warren has been here day one since Clubhouse. We have the pickup card game in here. Jordan is in here. CT Pittman, Sonny, Santa Rosa, Danny D, Sad Nets, the Sports Connect. E, what's up? James is here. Gio is here. Right? Like all of you. I appreciate you for coming through. If you could do me the favor, though, the reason why I asked this is the only way to grow is to bring a friend. Like, I'm not trying to have you strong arm somebody, but if you do a simple retweet, that's enough. And if you go up top, there's a tweet up there that gives you the show card, and it gives you the link, right? You click on it sometimes. Well, if you retweet that, and maybe even quote tweet and say, hey, come through and check it out, that's going to help us grow. And the more we grow, the more success we all will have chasing a dream. Just like Sean with the W, just like Malika Walker, just like Jose that I mentioned, Saint from Nets Kingdom AJ, 6 of the 12 even, hops in these Pelican spaces and talks ball so well that once he starts his own, he's going to have his own community start growing. So everybody can actually have a piece of this pie. And to that effect also, if you want to grow, you have to actually use Twitter the right way. Sage is in the building. Sage Alvarez does a phenomenal job connecting people. So if you want to learn from some of the best. There you go. We'll go next, though, to Malika Walker, who has her hands up. Sean will be back in a moment. He had to take something off the air. And then we'll get Sky, we'll get Six, and we'll bring back EK. Appreciate everybody. Malika, what do you got?
Real quick, because I didn't say this earlier. I'm so happy that Brittany is coming home to her family. Prayers to the Marine Paul Whalen's family. I did see their statement. Very kind words, but praying for them and praying for him. But commenting on, like him was that I know, like there's.
All right, we lost you.
I speak to. I'm here. You hear me?
Yep.
Do you hear me? Okay.
Now I do.
Wanted to make.
I hear you now.
I wanted to make sure I said that. Welcome home, Brittany. She's going to need time. She may not play next season. She's going to need time to heal from what she's been through. But I'm happy that she's home with her family. Also, the comments about James Wiseman. The reason why, to me, bust means someone who comes out of college and, gets in the NBA and they just never contribute. Like they are, I'm forgetting, Anthony Bennett?
Anthony Bennett.
Like Anthony Bennett is an example, right? I don't see James Wiseman as an Anthony Bennett. Like he didn't get an opportunity to play really in college. He joined the team that's won now. So he didn't get a chance to really work out his kinks on the court and go through a horrible season on the court and learn from that. And he was injured. Like a player like him, I just don't think he was put in the best position. I don't think him being injured, we need to give him at least another season to show if he's a bust or not. To call him a bust now, and he's a center. A lot of centers take a while to grow and to build that skill. A center is not made overnight. Sometimes they come in with the skill, but a lot of the times they don't. You need to give them more time. So somebody, especially somebody who only played not that many games when he was in college. So I think calling Wiseman a bust at this point is unfair.
All right. Remember, everybody, tonight, if you missed out because you're young, because some of you, and that's another thing. Can you believe that there are people in this room that weren't alive for that Lakers and Sixers finals? Yikes.
But they can watch it on NBA TV anytime they want. So
and
you can watch that whole series.
Hey, y'all should too. Just watch game one and leave yourself with a good memory and stop through tonight to chop it up with Malika about the 76ers. Up next, we'll go to Sky Davis, Air Jets trademarked. I don't know exactly what that is. Maybe it's an airliner. Maybe it's a shoe in development. Maybe it's something that is actually so profound that we wouldn't even be able to understand it with the IQ of Albert Einstein. But he loves basketball just like you, and so we're going to let him have the floor. What's up, Sky? How you doing?
Hey, Chris, how you doing? My name comes from the 90s TV show Doug. That was the shoe that Doug Funny once wanted.
Oh, my goodness. You talking about that cartoon that's horrible? The Nickelodeon thing?
Hey, man, I liked it. So, earlier you were talking about the wise guys. My friend Dame Extra Large Facts actually came up with that title. So we just call ourselves the wise guys. I've been a 25 plus years fan of the Warriors. So I've seen a lot of bad Warriors basketball. And so them losing like this, at the time it sucks, but like I've seen more bad Warriors basketball than good Warriors basketball. So the fact that Steph Curry's playing on this team is just an anomaly to me. About last night, I think I mean, you've pushed this agenda, and last night it was clear. I think Jordan Poole should start. Like, I know he doesn't have the defense of Klay Thompson, but as of right now, he's the best shooting guard on this team. Like, it's very clear. Like, Klay Thompson, like, during the run, their defense was so good that Klay Thompson could essentially shoot you out of games, but their defense will cover. There's no room for error that there used to be. So Klay Thompson shooting teams out of games is a problem now. So once they do that, and also like I'm a big James Wiseman guy. Like, he just hasn't gotten a chance to do what he does well. Like, it's weird that the Warriors never played drop coverage last year, and James Wiseman had never played drop coverage because Penny Hardaway taught him how to switch. And then they were like, all right, here you go, play drop coverage. I'm like, this team that was one of the best defensive of all time last year never played drop coverage. And I think that's a testament to Mike Brown. Mike Brown was the defensive coordinator last year. And as you can see what he's doing with the Kings, like, it holds true. So I think they're not putting their young guys in a position to win. You have two two-way guys who are going to play 40 games and not be a part of the team, and JaMychal Green, who I'm pretty sure that somebody has kidnapped his family and he has to shave points because no one can play that bad and continue to play on a team. I feel that Steve Kerr is choosing those guys over Jonathan Kuminga, who, like, let's be honest, this past 2 weeks, like, he's been a star. Like, he is the spark that this bench needs. Like, he didn't get a bunch of burn, and like as a longtime fan, or as a fan, like earlier this year with that 5-0 road trip, had Kuminga played in all of those games, they would have most likely won a couple of them. You have Moses Moody, scored like in like 2 minutes, scored 2 threes, and he was playing solid defense and like diving on the floor for the ball. And you have James Wiseman, who like is really rough, but there's the intangibles in him, and you could see a good player inside of him, to the point where a lot of the vets on the team are just like, oh yeah, he's going to be a good player. He just needs time. So I just don't understand why Steve Kerr is purposely tanking, because you have 3 guys there who can play, but you won't give any minutes to. But you decide to give minutes to these two-way guys, and JaMychal Green, who's been playing terribly.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's doing, to be honest. And thank you for hopping on the agenda of starting Jordan Poole. I'm going to further this agenda. Kuminga and Poole can't play off the bench together because when Kuminga plays off the bench without Jordan Poole, as you eloquently put, he becomes the primary option on offense and is a primary option by default, right? I said that Dante DiVincenzo was going to be a great pickup, and then I had to listen to Warrior fans saying, oh, he's going to give us like 14 and 5. And I was trying to tell them, no, what he's going to give you is what Sean Livingston gave you. He's going to give you like 7 to 10 points, but more importantly, he's going to challenge every play. He's going to get rebounds. And he's going to try to pass the ball. And with him coming now to be more healthy and Jordan Poole doesn't start, you see that off the bench, and it doesn't look bad, right? It's not great unless Kuminga's good, but it doesn't look bad. And then you say, they get one bench piece who can spread the floor and shoot. That could be something dangerous. And so, like, by moving Clay to the bench and Poole in the starting lineup, you get a more dynamic starting offense and you get a better bench play. Like, that's just in my opinion. I'll kick it back to you, and then we're going to go around the room real quick. Go ahead, Sky.
You're absolutely right. Jordan doesn't really play great defense, but sometimes a lot of these are because they dig themselves into really big holes early. And offensively, if you can dig yourself out of that hole as early as possible, then you still have a fighting chance later on in the game. One thing is, I know you might not like this, but the Sixers aren't really playing them. I've been pushing this trading for Matisse Thybulle train for a while, because if the Warriors get a good, solid defender, then everything else can fall into place. Or even a forward at this point. So, like, I mean, I feel like Steve Kerr's going to have to play guys he doesn't want to play. And, like, I know Steve Kerr is a okay coach, but sometimes...
So let me ask you something. It sounds like what you're asking for is defensive forward. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I got one for you, man, and he won't even take shots away from any of the shooters. Let me trade you PJ Tucker. Let me introduce you to this savvy vet who can hit a corner three and play the defense you are craving for. And all it will take to bring him is Ty Jerome. Like, we'll eat the salary, literally eat it with a knife and fork, and you can have PJ Tucker. How does that sound?
I mean, that sounds okay, but, I don't care how much I want. I feel like he can really, really help this team out in the long run, and they just need that defensive intensity. Like, you're exactly right. Dante DiVincenzo is the Sean Livingston, and when he has the pieces around him, he could play well. Like, one of the things that people don't talk about the James Wiseman run is those first 3 games he had Dante DiVincenzo there. So Dante DiVincenzo was giving him the ball. And since James Wiseman was getting the ball from DiVincenzo, he looked better. But once DiVincenzo got hurt, all those games happened, and then fans who just got on the bandwagon are all blaming James Wiseman for all the bad things that happened when the point of attack defense was terrible. Klay Thompson was shooting him out of games. Jordan Poole wasn't like the person that he needed to be. And, like, a lot of these things can get worked out, because, like, I think Boston was like 25 and 25 at one time last year, and then they made a playoff run. So no one in the West has really separated themselves, and this is where I land. No one in the West has really separated themselves. And honestly, if a team can essentially win like 11 out of 10 or out of 12 games, that will be the number 1 team in the West. Thank you for letting me up, Chris, and I love the show, and I hope you get to do it on a bigger scale, and I'm going to go to Slam Goods and buy something.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Appreciate it, Sky. And you did a perfect job of setting me up, too. because we are halfway through the show, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to go ahead and give you this read now. You heard him. He's going to go to Slam Goods. He's going to buy something. May I suggest the Funko Pop if you haven't? They're going to be collectible items. I'm telling you, that Ray Allen one is going to sell out. So get the Ray Allen one. It's $20. Use promo code HoopSpaces. Save 15%, just like Sky's about to do. And while you're there, go check out the pickup card game. Literally worth the time here. It's $25. Use the promo code. You'll save $3.75. You'll be able to buy yourself a proper cup of coffee and get ready for your holiday season the right way. Because I know some of y'all are dads, right? And even some of y'all moms who love ball down there listening. Listen, you will have fun playing this game. Just around the table with 1, 2, or 3 other people. The games can be quick, 2 or 3 minutes, real quick, man. I'm telling you, you wouldn't even know that it happens. It's like rolling dice. The other one is like a long, drawn-out game that's just like every other tradable card game. So, like, if you ever played Pokemon and you're an adult now and you kind of miss it, check out the pickup card game because they got a second edition getting ready to come on out. Use promo code HoopSpaces, save 15%. And like I said, if you don't want to get coffee, fine, don't. Just don't buy Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. They're as bad as that cartoon Doug. And I know Sky liked it, and I know some of y'all really like it. It is a horrible cartoon. I have been forced to watch it because my son found it, and it makes 0 sense at all. 0. Cartoons are cartoons, but at least, Looney Tunes had some sense to it. Also, we want to let you know we are powered by Audio Labs. Go check us out if you ever miss a show on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. You'll hear unedited so you can hear everything in context. And also, we picked up a new partner in Playback TV. We'll be broadcasting live 9 o'clock. I will put the link in the screen so you can join me watching basketball live. And you can pick my brain, and I promise there will be food takes because there always is. Appreciate everybody. Thank you for your support. And to Danny D and a couple of the other people, if you look up in the tweets in the Jumbotron, there is the list of the stuff that I have yet to get for Vincent that he specifically asked for. Anything can help. If you can help, cool. Thank you. If not, hey, I'm just throwing it out there into the universe. All right. Sean with the W is back. I'm going to go to Sean because I don't know if we'll lose him again. Then we're going to clear the hands because there's plenty of hands up, and they're going to welcome Nick up to the stage. Thank you, everybody. Those who just joined in, we appreciate any day you make any time with us here, like we really do. Sean, what do you got for the NBA last night?
Good morning, everyone in the United States. Good afternoon to anyone who may be across the pond. Last night, pretty interesting. I'll start backwards. I actually watched I watched like the last quarter of Warriors Jazz. Jesus Christ! Like, if you have Warriors money line, I feel sorry for you.
I don't even gamble, and I literally said, Sean, I bet you if Sean and Adam looked at each other right now, they'd be dying laughing.
Bro, it was awful. It was awful. I also saw a bit of Detroit and New Orleans. My fan base likes to. Some people in our fan base like to say, like, "Oh, 3 of our wins come against Detroit. We ain't shit." I'm like, listen, Detroit will play you tough with or without Cade. They beat Golden State. They beat Utah. They beat Denver. They beat a bunch of really good teams. So and they play tough against others, right? So I don't think we should be in the process of looking down on certain victories. The Eastern Conference is a cacophony of mid. There are 3 good teams and then a bunch of people just jumbled together in I don't know what. And then, so
you said 3 good teams, Sean? I feel like it's Boston and then everybody else.
I think it's Boston, Milwaukee.
I think it's Boston. I think it's Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and I don't think it's third. Yeah, Nets are 4th probably.
I think the Nets are currently the 4th seed right now. I think the Nets are currently the 4th seed. but whatever. And then as for the game that I care about the most, Knicks and Hawks, RJ Barrett is like really starting to like concern me. It's just not looking good. Like I'm actually pulling up his numbers right here. Let's see now. Like he's shooting. Where is this? Right here. Okay. Yes, he's shooting 41% from the field, 47% from two. His effective field goal percentage is 45%, and his true shooting is 54%. It's wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. This isn't RJ Barrett's numbers. These are Trae Young's numbers. Oh my god. This son of a bitch tried to walk who is like 3-11 all time against the Knicks, including the playoffs, wants to walk in the Garden with King of Broadway on his shoes. Like you gotta listen. You cannot listen. The media, NBA media, has tried so hard to create this rivalry between the Knicks and the Hawks and shoving down everyone's throat how Trae is the king of this and then he owns it and then homeboy fell for the banana in the tailpipe and thought it'd be a good idea to wear the King of Broadway on his shoes and then only to go out and drop tour dates last night. Like, listen. Like that takes some cojones. Like to
some
not
chutzpah.
That takes some chutzpah.
So I watched this game at my son's swimming practice, and all I could say, once DeJounte Murray went down, this game is over. Like the moment the moment that they tried to guard Julius Randle with AJ Griffin or Jalen Johnson, and he looked at him, and you remember he put the shoulder in the chest just once. Game was over.
All right, so here's what I'll say.
And they had Jared Culver also guarding Julius
Now, how
Randle.
the hell you gonna say Jared Colvin? Come on, man. Stop.
That's what I'm saying. Like they threw Jared Culver, who's like
Jared
buck-
Colvin ain't been good.
But he didn't start Bonkai.
he's
Thank
a
you,
buck
Shoka.
60 soaking wet trying to guard Julius Randle.
But I didn't even know Jared
It
Culver
was an
was still in the
easy
league.
W last night. I ain't even too impressed. It was an easy W.
Okay, all jokes aside, when DeJounte got hurt, I wasn't like, oh, this game is over because the first time we played them, Trae did not play well, and Trae missed most of the game, and we were up by 20 and lost by 13.
Well, that's because DeJounte is better than Trae.
But Trae Young is also a very good basketball player.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but we punched him to the eye, though.
See. Okay. Right. And the funny thing is, in the second quarter, they went on an 11-0 run with Trae on the bench, and as every Hawks fan know, like non-Trae minutes without DeJounte is like G League level offense, and they ripped off 11 straight. And then Trae comes back in the game, and then they score 7, and they score 7 more. So the score went from 38-20 to 38-37. And I know everyone in the building is like, we're doing this again. We're doing this again. We're doing this again. But Julius Randle made NBA history last night. He will look really good in Phoenix. Phoenix, I don't know what you're doing. Last thing I'll say is the most disgusting part about last night was the Knicks beat the brakes off the Hawks at home on national television with 3 of our young guards getting good minutes in the rotation, Quickly, Grimes, and Deuce McBride. And yet, in the Knicks Film School post game and all day on the timeline, it was just whining about Cam Reddish. And I've told everybody, the Cam Hive, the cult of Cam, Camanon, whatever you want to call it, I've told them all, you sound just like the Hawks fans from 2 years ago. Because 2 years ago, Cedric and I spent the whole summer yelling and telling us about Cam Reddish. And there was a select few. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to JB. Shout out to Bolu kinda. There's another one. Mikey, Nate. There was a group of them was like, listen, this guy is not that guy. Like, he's not. He's not. And
So
now,
hold on, man. Oh my God.
stop. He's not who you think he is. Not who you think he is.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Anthony.
The idea of Cam Reddish is better than Cam Reddish. Go ahead, Anthony.
Go ahead, Anthony.
You know what? Y'all motherfuckers make me fucking sick to my goddamn stomach. You know that?
Why the hostility, Anthony?
All of a sudden, he's not that guy no more. What the?
He was never that guy.
Is it all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Hey, full disclosure for everybody down below, he's a Duke fan. This has nothing to do with NBA basketball.
Look, I'll
it
tell you
has
what.
everything to do with Duke.
He might not be that guy, whatever, but one thing that I'll say that's pretty messed up, at least to me, is the fact that he came in, right? He didn't have a good preseason. After that, he started playing better basketball. He started, really focusing on the defensive end, which a lot of us were calling him out for. And he was playing well. Like, he was helping the team out. Then all of a sudden, he gets a little growing injury. He misses 2 or 3 games. And all of a sudden, he's dropped completely from the rotation. That doesn't really make sense to me in terms of accountability. That's just, I don't know. That doesn't sit right with me, whether he is the guy or not that guy. He was playing well, and I think he had earned a spot, at least in the rotation. To be completely dropped is a little.
Let me
say this real quick.
Go ahead, and I got something about Tibbs because this is what
Shout
this
out
is the
to
problem.
all the Dookies that was in the game last night. All the damn Duke. AJ Green.
Tomato.
Hey, Chris, can I say one more thing real quick?
No.
No. It's not about Cam Reddish. It's just like a lot of people are going to turn a blind eye to this, especially the people who've been on Quentin Grimes' case as of late. The Knicks were doing the whole like, oh, here we go again. They're going to lose another big lead or whatever. Quentin Grimes actually sparked the Knicks run yesterday in that second quarter in that third quarter when he hit a three. He came down the floor. I believe he stripped Trae Young on a play. He played really good defense. Then he came back down and hit another corner three. And that's really what got the Knicks rolling and, pretty much kind of put the game to bed after that point. So, to all the Quentin Grimes haters, yeah, he can play. He's not a bum. He can play basketball. He's just getting up to speed right now.
Anthony, 30 seconds.
Shout out to all the Dookies, like I said. RJ Barrett and Trevor Kill.
Gosh,
I see it last night.
I forgot they're calling
got
Quentin Grimes.
4 more guys coming into the NBA.
I forgot they're calling Quentin Grimes Quentin Ntilikina, apparently.
You hear me, TJ? I know you down there. You hear me, sir.
This is just getting bad.
Go ahead, Chris.
Tom Thibodeau and Nate McMillan look in the mirror. What do they see?
Each other.
Spider-Man meme. Yes. In real life, I saw the post game, they shake. Literally, I could not stop and get it fast enough. I almost dropped my phone. If I had dropped my phone, it was done. Like my son's, the pool, it's all concrete covered with tile. If I had dropped it, it would have gone clickety clank all the way down like a Plinko chip. It was over. I had to almost strain my back to reach down and snatch it because I saw in real time a human Spider-Man meme, and I was just so much joy, Sean. Seriously, I cannot explain to you how I felt in that moment.
Listen, we've been saying it for years. The last thing I'll say is, so 2 things can be true. The organization has completely mismanaged the Cam Reddish situation from the jump. They acquired a player that they were not sure that if the coach was going to play him, and then when the coach decided not to play him, instead of being in the front office and saying, no, you need to find minutes for this guy, they let him do whatever. They will let him jerk him around, and now they're looking to trade him. So they completely missed, from an asset management standpoint, it was complete malpractice. He should be a part. He clearly is an NBA rotation player, and he should be a part of our rotation going forward. With that being said, the outrage that he's been dropped from the rotation is not because people think he's a NBA rotation player. It's because people think there are people in this fan base who still think he is Tracy McGrady if he gets an opportunity. And that is where I say you, sir, are a hoax. He's not. He is a good player. He is not as good as you think he is.
And RJ Barrett.
That's not saying much.
Shout out.
The cool thing is when you talk about Cam now what the Cam Hive does, they respond with, "Well, we've been RJ Barrett." That has nothing to do with the present Team China. I'm talking about Cam Reddish.
Well, the issue with RJ Barrett is he's tuned out Tom Thibodeau and he wants Tom gone.
No, that's not the issue with Tom Thibodeau. That's not the issue.
That's
with
what I was
RJ
about to ask. I was about to ask Bonkai and Sean, and Anthony, the Knicks fans up here. Why do you think that RJ hasn't taken that leap? Is it the coach, or
too much pressure?
Sometimes the coach can make a lot of difference.
Me personally,
it is because he is a 22-year-old kid who knows damn well that if it wasn't for a particular unprotected pick in 2029, he would be in Utah. And that has been screwing with him.
Sean,
give
me a real answer.
We gonna move on. We gonna move on, ladies and gentlemen.
No, can they answer?
Why is that not a real answer?
We gonna move on.
Why are we doing this?
Wait, hold on, Sean. So me personally, aside from that, I do think that stuff has messed with his head a little bit. He feels like he has a little bit more to prove. But outside of that, and from what I'm seeing on the court from him, I think he came into the off season he tackled the off season wrong. I personally think he got a little bit too heavy in terms of like weight, like in terms of lifting and stuff. He looks a little bit slower. I do think he put on too much muscle, because if you watch him, he's never been the most explosive guy ever. He's never been the quickest, but I don't remember him being this slow or this flat-footed before. He looks like the muscle is kind of like affecting his jumping ability, his moving ability. Like even when he's trying to get by guys, I know there's guys that are slower than him, and he can't even really get by those guys right now at the moment. I think it's the Mitchell Robinson effect. Same thing happened to Mitchell Robinson last season. He fractured his foot, and they told him, okay, his trainer basically told him, put on more muscle. That way you can, fight with these other big NBA centers, and you can stay with them. And it basically ended up affecting him when he came back, to the point where like he actually had to drop that muscle. And when he did that, he started to move better. He started to jump higher.
I think that's reading too much into it.
But that's not the reason. But that's not the reason why he's not.
It's not
like
the sole reason, but I believe it's playing a part in it, because if you look at him play, he's moving much slower.
I
Overall.
understand that, but he's still getting to the basket anyway. So the reason why I'm saying it's a real answer is because RJ has decided. Well, RJ, even he kind of said it last year in this article in The Athletic, like he wanted to get to 20 points a game. So getting to that 20-point a game bar has always meant something to him. And now when he realized that, I was the face of the franchise, and now they're going to ship me to Utah, I'm going to show everybody, I'm going to score. And he just the tunnel vision, the playmaking is going down. It's like, this kid is trying too hard. This kid is trying to.
It's a combination.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not. He's playing less minutes. He's taking less shots. He doesn't have the ball in his hand as much, and he's missing his threes. That's all it is.
Plenty of times, Chris.
Can we just set the record straight on what's going on with the Knicks and Knicks fans for a second? Can we just set the record straight real quick? I said this in a room yesterday. A lot of people got frustrated, and it echoes kind of what Sean has been saying, which is like a bunch of things can be true, and everybody wants to pick a side. And so one thing is that the Knicks front office and their coach is inept, right? And there's no talent for development. There's no room for it. There's no appetite for it, and they just haven't shown the ability to do it. So that's like one thing. They wasted an asset to go acquire Cam Reddish. They weren't on the same page. Now they're going to probably have to trade him or, let him go or not sign him, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. So they're going to have to, they thought they were buying $1 for 50 cents, and now they're going to sell it for 25. And that's okay. That's one thing that's going on. The other thing that's going on the other thing that's going on is that like the fan base is frustrated with RJ Barrett hitting like a small plateau, right? He has largely improved year over year up until this season, and now he is struggling. He's got a new point guard. He has the ball handlers. Maybe he's depressed. Maybe his dog died.
No, he's regressed, not depressed. Regressed.
Oh, okay. No, I don't even think it's really. I think there is definitely a statistical regression. I don't know if there's a playing style regression. I just think he's struggling out of the gate again, and like there's a plateau right now. I think his progression will continue, but regardless of the RJ Barrett situation, I think the fan base is like has a lot of frustrations with this team, with RJ, with Julius, with the coaching, with the drafting, with the punting on draft picks. You know what I mean? With like, giving up the opportunity to take a couple of guys that went at like 10, 11, and 12, and instead having to package them to unload contracts. The fact that the team is not taking a step forward, didn't take a step forward after making the playoffs 2 years ago, and they are projecting it onto the Cam Reddish situation. And Cam, for some people, I think, has become like a live wire.
He's the hope.
He is the magnifying glass through which the sun is shining onto the ant of like the Knicks fandom. And so like I agree that Cam should be playing for the Knicks. He should be playing 35 minutes again for the Knicks. There's no reason for him not to be. I also think it's a likelihood at this point that he and, say, Quentin Grimes have very similar NBA careers from here on out. Like, I think it's a coin flip who has, like, the longer, more successful NBA career. And that's not because I think Quentin Grimes is more talented. I don't think he necessarily is. I just think that they're both at points in their careers where, like, they're going to be rotation guys. And it's just who's going to find a situation that sticks. And Cam's game is aesthetically pleasing. We have seen him dominate at lower levels with lower competition. A lot of people remember that. He's got a lot of fans in the league and outside of the league who have either practiced with him, played with him, and seen his flashes and remember his stretches at Atlanta. But he hasn't put it together consistently. And yes, you can definitely blame the Spider-Man meme of coaches he's played for so far. But also, Cam's situation is not unique just to Cam. A lot of NBA players at this stage in their career find themselves like having not quite found a rotation spot, having not quite fell into a role. And I think people can see that he's done a lot to try to fit in with the Knicks, to do what he was supposed to do, and it's not working, and that's frustrating. But I don't think Cam is going to step out of this role and go be an all-NBA player or even an all-star. You know what I mean? Or even a starter for a playoff team.
But he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. You know,
let him finish Bankai. Let him finish Bankai so I can get the other hands too.
Of course he does not. Like, I hope he does. By the way, I want the Knicks to trade him now. I want him to go somewhere where he'll be developed. He'll be able to flourish. And I'm just saying this, like, it's important to establish, like, I covered him at the draft. I've met Cam a couple times. Like, I really like him and I really want him to succeed. I don't think that's going to happen with the Knicks. And so I'm kind of rooting for a trade at this point. But I just think that, like, the fan base like starting to eat its own a little bit. Like, you're mad about Quentin Grimes.
You want Cam Reddish on the Lakers?
Deuce. Like, you know, you don't have to pick sides.
We're gonna come back to the Knicks, guys, but I want to get through these hands real quick.
We don't have
to. Okay, then I'll end with this. My issue is
you got 11 wins.
Julius Randle is doing what he's supposed to do. He's taking less shots. He's more efficient, right? He's doing what he's supposed to do. RJ Barrett is doing what he's supposed to do. He's taking less shots, except he's not as efficient. He did not get the efficiency boost that people assumed he would get when bringing in Jalen Brunson. Part of the issue is because Jalen Brunson takes away from some of the touches that RJ would have that helps him get a better feel for his game. And the other part is it is stagnant. There is no evolution of New York Knicks offense. And there hasn't been. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. You're right. No, you're absolutely right. The offense is putrid.
All right, let me get the hands up here. That we'll bring back Nick in. 6 of 12. Thank you for your patience. You got 2 minutes.
Man, that was torture. 28 minutes of Knicks talk. Bottom feeder, dweller.
Don't be disrespectful.
Give him the horn. Middle feeder.
Well, wait. Remember now, ladies and gentlemen, the Pelicans. Your New Orleans Pelicans are the number 1 seed in the Western Conference.
You're different right now.
Yeah, it's very early for all the number 1 seed and all that stuff.
Second round,
I'm not gonna lie, but 28 minutes talking about the Knicks, like, oh my god, I could have sworn I was in a Knicks.
You could have left.
Space.
You could have left.
No, because I was waiting my turn.
Then I don't know what to tell you.
So you came back up just to talk about the Knicks.
No. I'm glad that it's over. But what I want to talk about is
they love us.
I think no.
You do
let him finish. Let him finish.
No, he should have made his point, but he had to come at the Knicks. So guess what? Now he gets to smoke.
It's kind of hard not to
Zion
28 minutes
Williamson
talking about just absolutely. Anyways, I think Wiseman has not been given like a fair opportunity to actually show what he's worth yet. I don't know if he's a bust. He hasn't played long enough for given the opportunity to say he's a bust. I just want to comment on that. Also, was it the Clippers that lost last night off a 5-second violation? That's pretty sad. Just want to mention that as well. Look, I'm glad the Celtics beat the Suns. I am not happy about how bad they beat the Suns because we play them on Friday and Sunday at home. I'm going to the game on Friday. I would have liked this, the Celtics to beat the Suns, but not absolutely just do what they did to them.
So I want to know why you're not talking about this 6-point barely win over the lowly Detroit Pistons.
Oh, I'm getting to that. I wanted to get to all my points first, but
all right.
Yeah, look, the Pelicans shot 29% from 3 last night. It was one of their worst shooting performances since the second game of the season. They had 19 turnovers, which is the third most they've had this season. And it wasn't their best game. But the thing about this team is that I'm happy about is, even when they're not playing their best basketball, they're finding ways to win, which is something in New Orleans that we are just not accustomed to seeing, on basketball. And I think people need to start, looking at this Detroit team. They're really one big away and maybe 2 years away from causing some issues in the East. Maybe not competing with the Celtics and the Bucks and the Nets and things like that. But like you said, they have some really good wins this year. They're going to fight every game, no matter who they play. They were on a second night of a back-to-back. So it was just one of those games, man, where I was just happy that we pulled it out. But the Trey Murphy propaganda, like you said, I'm not at the start him over BI situation yet. I am honestly nowhere near that. But I do love the fact, I think Zion loves having him on the court when he's on the court as well. When you have, Trey in the corner or Trey, on the wing, top of the key, and Zion's driving, it's such a great thing to see, Z be able to dish it out and know that, he has a, 44% chance of that ball going in when Trey shoots it from deep. So yeah, man, it's a good team win. I can't hop on that BI train yet, but I do think, I know this is CJ's second game back from being out for 2 weeks with illness. But I think CJ might be turning into that role that y'all are talking about with James Harden and CP3. I truly think we would do better with him coming off the bench. Where he can be the lead guy taking over the offense, especially when BI does come back. But yeah, that's what I have so far for that.
Trey Murphy III will go down as potentially the player with the most 50, 40, 90 seasons. Think about that. This is his second year. He's at 48% from the floor, 41 from 3, 95 from the line.
Yeah, he's leading the league in free throw percentage.
I'll fact check this.
Don't. You're only going to make yourself feel bad.
No, I'm saying I'm going to see who has the most 50, 40, 90 seasons in NBA history.
Okay.
before you say certain things like that.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Go ahead. I'm high on him. There's only two that had multiple ones, bro. You don't know, like it's Steve Nash and Larry Bird. If you didn't know, it's only two
that have more than one. Okay,
yeah, only two.
Double checking.
I think Bird has 3 or maybe 2. I know Nash has 4. He's the leader. Because I remember that one because that was one of the arguments they used against Kobe when he won one of those MVPs. That was just like, what the hell are you doing? All right, let's move to Too Much Common Sense. Then we've got Jay, the Wakanda Tech Support, Micah, Professor. Jay is in the building. We'll go back up to Bankai. Obviously, it is tongue-in-cheek. I don't think you start Trey Murphy over Brandon Ingram. I think you put down C.J. McCollum or Herb Jones and start Trey Murphy. Man, it is going to be scary in NOLA. Up next, Too Much Common Sense. What's up? It's been a minute. Glad you can come up here and speak your mind and share your thoughts. We'll get Jay the Wakanda Tech Support next after you. Appreciate you. Good morning.
Thank you, man. What's up to everybody out there? Yeah, it's been a minute, man. It's been busy working. I want to say but New Orleans, man, they got so much potential over there. All in players is great. Every position is stacked, I think, in New Orleans. They got so much potential. If the coach can get them to work right, they probably could be a playoff. I mean, they could be a potential danger in the playoffs for any team they play against. So I got high hopes for Murphy. I liked him last year. I told everybody he's gonna be a star. He's athletic. He can shoot. He's tall. Everything. Like, he got all the potential to be great. As far as the RJ Barrett thing and Cam Reddish, I think to me, I feel like they reached their plateau. I don't think they can get better than what they are. I think they will give you what they give you now. Whatever points they give you, they'll give you that for the rest of their life. I can never see them getting better than what they are. I never bench. Go back to Golden State Warriors thing. I never bench Klay Thompson for Jordan Poole. I'm a Jordan Poole fan. I'm a Klay Thompson fan. But Klay will also give you defense, and he'll give you explosive offense whenever he can. You need that in playoffs. It's not about yesterday. It's about playoffs, and that's where it really counts. So I'll never bench Klay for Jordan Poole. And I was the one who told you Jordan Poole is going to be the Curry 2.0, and he's doing that. So I'll never do that, though. But as far as the league goes, I got like I said, I got New Orleans. I like that. I got the Warriors still going against the Bucks in the finals.
Hey, yes, that's what I had. I usually readjust after Christmas. Yeah, no, because like you normally take 20 games, you get the sense of what teams are. By Christmas, you get the sense of what teams need and what they're actually actively trying to acquire, and then you start really seeing what they're going to end up looking like in April.
Yeah, that's like the Warriors got all the potential still to be the contenders in the finals. I think Bucks still are contenders. They got great defense. All the guards play great defense. Giannis is a great defender. They got all the tools to get back to the finals.
All right, I appreciate you, and look, I know life is hard sometimes. I'm glad you're able to go out there and work and provide. I hope you have a splendid holiday season. If we don't hear from you again, I'm hitting this button too so I can do another read. I'll get the Slam Goods tweet up in a moment, and this is just me using my voice to remind you about our sponsor. Sponsoring the second season of Hoop Space is your best daily NBA conversation and show here on Twitter and Twitter Spaces. Over the course of 270 plus episodes, I'm not going to lie to you, we have spoken to thousands and thousands and thousands of people about basketball. And that's actually kind of like what Slam Goods was really impressed about, was the consistency, but also the community in which we are building here for a better basketball community, right? We're able to come up and talk all teams. We've splintered off with different team rooms. They allow all fans their voices, and that's what we think basketball coverage should be. And I want to say thank you for being a part. And in part to that is why Slam Goods availed me of this wonderful promo code that I can share with you. Because if you like basketball, I'm going to tell you now, the reason why I said yes were these phenomenal packages they have so I could go back in time and re-experience what I grew up watching. And those are the Rewind series. Like, you can get them for $10. You can get the packages for up to $30. A couple are $50, but they're sold out. And you can go back in time and see what the likes of Allen Iverson was covered like in actual print. And you can then hold on to that memory and share that. And I think that's phenomenal. So go over there, check them out. They start at $10. They work your way up. Use promo code HoopSpaces. Save 15% off of your purchase. Thank you to slamgoods.com. All right. And thank you for allowing me to do that read. I want to say Jay, the Wakanda tech supporter, huge thank you to him. Also met on Clubhouse, followed here to Spaces. And he has become a mainstay voice here on Hoop Spaces. And a lot of the things he says provoke, but sometimes end up being right. And when he's right, I do want to allow him the time to go ahead and gloat a little bit, because who doesn't like that? Jay, the Wakanda tech support, Jackson State by 40. What's up?
Good morning. I wanted to talk about the Grizzlies, who are less than a handful of games away from the 1 seed, and they've not yet played their ideal rotation all season. But to your Warriors thing, Wiseman can't be a bust, because Wiseman was never drafted at 2, albeit to be the franchise. So he's not a bust. He was drafted to be a cog in a championship machine. And we just don't know if he can be a cog in a championship machine.
Can I push back on that real quick? Because and not for what you're saying, Jay, but like what the Warriors and their fans told us, that were like, yo, we have this group now, and then this group is gonna be next to keep the dynasty going. That's what we were told. But now it's like, now that those guys aren't who they said they were gonna be, now I feel like they're complete. So from what we heard from them, it's like, no. Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody, they were the next core to get things going.
I hear you, and I understand that, but I would also say that this is month 16 of a 36-month process, so we might need to chill, because Kuminga is coming along quite nicely. And so I think from the Warriors fans' standpoint, what they're saying is, what if Kuminga takes Draymond Green's role and you now have to actually guard Draymond Green in that offense because he'll drop 20 on you? What if we get a guy like Moody who can be Klay Thompson? Not exactly, but replicate the defense and the outside shooting. What if we get 85 cents on the dollar in Steph and Jordan Poole? And I think that's their argument. And I think that we're too early in the process to know which one is right, objectively. But it is fun to kick the bandwagon, my basketball knowledge is better than yours because my team is better than yours, sycophants. It's good to kick them when it down. It feels good. I can't lie about that, and I get it. It does.
True story.
It does.
Spoken from a Knicks fan and a Lakers Grizzlies fan. This is hilarious.
Hold on. First of all, I'm the most objective Laker fan you know.
No, Ryan is.
No, I'm more objective than Ryan. There's tape of Ryan saying, "Well, let's just wait till Kendrick Nunn gets back."
He's joking. Like
He wasn't joking at the time. He was not joking.
Oh,
at the time.
okay. Well, then there you go.
I was told last year that 39 Trevor Ariza. I was told last year that 39-year-old Trevor Ariza was the missing link. Okay?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah. So no, in this space, Chris.
That's bad.
So nah, man. The league is in a great place. I only was able to watch 3 games last night. I watched Grizzlies. I watched the Wizards and the Bulls. The Wizards need a point guard. If the Wizards have a point guard, they beat that team by 20.
They need a point guard bad. And I thought Monte Morris was going to pop, man. I ain't going to lie. I thought he was going to be like 18-6. Like,
I think Monte Morris is like that really good backup QB that's in the league, that the starter get hurt and he'll put together a 4-game stretch, and then everybody's like, oh, he could be a starter, and then he goes to another place, he starts, and like, I see why he's a backup. And that's kind of what Monte Morris is. He's really, I won't say top notch, but he's good in 15-minute a game burst. if he's getting 30 minutes,
he's a change of pace. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that's no shots. That's just who Monte Morris is at this point in his career. And they need a real point guard for they need a starter. They need a guy that's going to play 30 minutes a night, NBA average defense, and then keep everybody involved, because when they don't have a point guard, if Kuzma gets it going and Kuzma is not in facilitating mode, then it makes Kristaps either shrink from his offensive duties, or Kristaps decides, well, I'm gonna get mine too. And there's no balance, because there are some passes that Kristaps made where they were like hockey assists, or the swing of the swing passes that were really good. Kuzma does the same thing, but just keeping the other guys involved and in rhythm. They need a point guard for that. Kuzma lacks that game management skill. Now, he could develop it, but I don't think that's where Kuzma's mind is at.
I don't think that's where he's going either. I'm with you. I think he wants the big deal to be a number one or number two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Though last night, Monte Morris 17-8, Kristaps 28-9-4, and these are points to 17-8 assists for Monte Morris, 28-9-4 for Kristaps, 21-5 for Kuzma. Every starter scored in double figures. They just didn't have any. It was a very rigid watch. Let me just put it that way. At times, between Kuzma and Porzingis, just kind of like trading offensive responsibilities. But then there were also moments where you saw the offense actually move, and you can realize, like, if Monte Morris could give you that 17-8 with Bradley Beal instead of Corey Kispert, it could be a dangerous team. But Monte Morris for the season is averaging like 9-5.
Right, and that's the thing and the other thing is that outside of Will Barton, and Gafford can kind of do things, but he's a big, so it just depends on if they feel like finding him night to night. The way the bench unit works, and the way I think it's Bickerstaff in Washington has set up his rotation. No, Bickerstaff's in Cleveland. It's
Unseld.
Unseld
Jr.
In Washington. The way he has set up his rotation, and I know Bill has been in and out all year, but I would like for him to set it up to where Kuzma is captaining the second unit and Kristaps is the main guy in the first unit. And he tries to do that, but there are just times where Kispert and Adija and Gafford, they just get lost in the shuffle. They get theirs in transition, they get theirs, in different ways, but there's not a lot of set plays. And I think that's why you see their defensive intensity ebb and flow, because it's like, well, I'm just playing defense for the last about 4 minutes. Why do I care about, rotating two shooters in the corner? Like, why do I care?
Yeah, the other big problem is they're a bad rebounding team if Kuzma doesn't rebound.
Yes.
Like, if he doesn't get 8-9, they are horrible. And then that's what happened in Chicago, because like they were up and then they couldn't get a rebound to save their life. And then DeRozan drops 12 in the fourth quarter and the game's over.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where you kind of have to watch the game to see that, because I saw that too, and I was just like, man, that sucks. Because when you look at the box score, it's like, oh, well, Chicago only got 6 offensive rebounds. It's like, no, it's the 3 Wizards in the paint after a layup, and then the one bull in the paint taps it, and then there's a transition opportunity.
Yep.
Like, that's what this box score doesn't tell you. And yeah, the Wizards definitely need to fix that. And so, I don't know if they would be interested in trading for Andre Drummond, because I think the Bulls just need to blow it up in structure. Let's get assets for DeRozan and Vucevic and just reimagine this team.
So let's actually move to that, because we don't really talk a lot of Bulls, primarily because when you give your star player a 4-year contract extension and you give your coach a 4-year contract extension, but you delay the timing of telling everybody you give your coach a contract extension until 3 months after the fact, like, that's unserious to me. And I'm like, okay, Like what you're not doing is you're not really telling everybody that you've already realized that this is done. And I think they just don't want to say it because if you look at it, Ball isn't going to come back and be ready, and Chicago's not even in the position for them to be ready for anything. And that's with DeRozan, Vucevic, and Levine combining for 77 points. Like, in the fourth, you didn't think they were going to win. It was a coin flip. It was like, whoever wants it will get it, and it just so happened to be the Bulls this time. Like, that's what I get when I watch the Bulls, and it's quite frustrating. So if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, God bless. Like, that's just, I can't do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because the other sneaky thing about the Bulls is Zach LaVine went from one of the most feared drivers in the league to honestly just a guy. Because if you think of Zach LaVine, you think of the dunk championships or all that stuff and high flyer. Like, he still has that thing in people's mind. But if you've been watching Zach LaVine for like the last 3 years, he's not that. He's the guy who takes 19 shots but only has 4 free throws. That's not a guy that's slashing to the rim, right? And so that's the other thing about the Bulls is that they shoot free throws pretty well, but they don't get there. And I don't know, because with DeRozan fading away from the rim at the mid post, he's not going to draw a lot of fouls. And then so you look on this team that in a close game like last night, when the game is a grind, it is a half court, panic fest. Who is going to be the guy that's going to put his foot in the ground, jump into somebody's chest, get free throws, and give his team that breather, give the team the chance to catch their breath, give the coach a chance to take that, free 30-second timeout, pull a guy to the side, say, hey, we should do this on the coverage next time because they're doing this, boom, boom. And then, because those are the things that are sneaky that allow teams to turn games like the Wizards' 4-point loss into like a 4-point win.
Let me get
those type of things.
Let me get Nick in here because I want to ask him his thoughts on Chicago real quick, and Washington, but more so Chicago. It's frustrating, like when I'm watching the Bulls, because the Garpax era was just bad. I mean, we can be honest, it was bad in terms of a GM, player, personnel, president, combination. But they seem kind of rudderless, but yet they seem as though they're still moving like they have a plan. What are your thoughts on this?
I think everybody's got a plan until they get fired. And I think the best thing to do is keep selling the plan. I mean, listen, on one hand, I really respect the fact that the Bulls had a collection of like good players, and maybe even depending on how you feel about Lonzo or DeRozan or Vucevic, really good players. And they decided hey, let's try to be a top 4 team. I think that's cool. And if Lonzo's healthy and Patrick Williams stays healthy the whole time, I think, and Levine is healthy, and I think they have a shot. I think they would be probably a top 4 team, and maybe the kind of team that has the second or.
All right, he must have gotten a phone call. We'll bring him back because he's probably there. He is. Lost him again. Hey, he's a busy man. We'll bring him back. We'll go quickly to Professor Jay. What's up, Jay? It's good to see you again. What's your take on the NBA last night?
That we're the best team in the league, and I just wanted to thank the Sixers, for allowing us to get Jason Tatum.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, that's all.
All right, enjoy your day.
All right, man.
I still regret the fact that they did not take Jason Tatum. He was right there. Already had a point guard,
awesome.
Had a center, small forward sitting there, and we picked Markelle Fultz.
I think GMs in the league misunderstand or conflate positional depth with redundancy, because there's no way you look at Dario Saric, Robert Covington, and whoever else is playing the 3 on your team and be like, we have too many small forwards because with Jason
It
Tatum
was Jeremy
was
Grant, I
also
think.
yeah, Jeremy Grant. That's probably because it's the thing is with Jason Tatum, theoretically, what he was supposed to be in his player type, it wasn't what Robert Covington was projected to be, and it wasn't what Dario Saric was projected to be. So on paper, yeah, we got three threes, but you have one that's supposed to be a defensive stopper, combo forward between threes and fours. At that point in his career, he can also guard twos in short spurts. You have the point forward in Dario Saric, and then Tatum was supposed to be the scorer. And I think NBA GMs and front offices conflate positional depth with redundancy.
Yeah, they outsmarted themselves and talked themselves into a bad decision. Go ahead. You're back.
Hold on.
What?
I do think sometimes, and listen, we're fans, right? So when your team drafts Nene Hilario and then trades him for Antonio McDyess, right? Or like passes on Ron Artest and drafts Frederick Weiss, like there's always times where you're like, damn, I knew it. But I also think fans, like we all have the benefit of hindsight. We all have the benefit of it not being our job to do this stuff. And the truth is, the reason GMs get fired all the time and people are constantly calling for their jobs because they call it a lottery for a reason. Like,
oh, absolutely.
It's really hard to figure this stuff out. And obviously, Jason Tatum is like is one of the 5 best players in the league right now. And I think you could make an argument that he's the best player if you wanted to. Like, you could make a cogent argument that he's the best player in basketball. But when they were both 18 and 19, like Markelle Fultz was really good.
Oh no, I know, I know. I was with you.
I know you know, obviously, because you were following closely. And like, I feel sometimes like it's so easy to go through. They didn't take it. So easy to go through the Knicks' most recent drafts and be like, "Oh, you passed on Herb Jones 3 times? That's weird." Like,
that, yeah,
because they did. But I do think like as somebody who's been involved in the draft process, like from a coverage standpoint, you know what I mean, and done some like scouting for coaches, for like college players, like you are really guessing, man. And you are really like putting your faith in like just variables. Like, how is this kid going to face adversity? And how are these skills going to translate? And are they actually going to be able to learn to shoot? And like, you know, with Markelle Fultz, like his game just going away is one of those things that's like, well, chalk it up to the game a little bit. Like
that was never my issue with it. It was the trade.
I know it's not.
It was
the trade is tough. The trade was tough
because they weren't they weren't going to draft him. Fultz. No, we could have had him at 3, and I would have been fine.
Yeah, probably. But he was in the conversation for the number 1.
Oh, geez.
Is that me? Is that somebody else?
No, that's somebody else. All right, I got it. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I mean, he wasn't. I think at the time, and I'd have to really go back and look at notes. Like, I think he was the consensus number 1, but it wasn't necessarily unanimous, right? Like, Tatum had a lot of support, and also big, skilled wings are, I think, still like the most sought after thing in the NBA. Shout out to Cam Reddish. And so, I think that like it makes sense. I don't know. Every time when I hear people start talking about like GMs and they pick this guy, not that guy, like I at once agree, and sometimes it's very obvious, and also I sometimes feel the need to just speak up and be like, hey man, like a lot of teams passed on Donovan Mitchell. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people were gonna take Markelle Fultz first. He was awesome. And like this is somebody I watched in person as Greg Oden like toss the Florida front line around. And they
lost. Yeah. No, I know. But remember, Boston at the time only had but they had Marcus Smart. They had Jaylen Brown. They weren't gonna draft Fultz. Like they were always gonna draft Tatum.
The team that drafted like Ben Simmons and Jabari and
bro, look.
It's hard.
Go ahead, Jay.
The thing is, I think that you're right because it's the GM's job. I think they try to turn 2 + 2 into calculus way too often. Because at the end of the day, My philosophy is that you have player archetypes at the 5 positions. Either they're a facilitator, they're a defender, or they're a scorer, just in simple, broad terms, right? And the thing is, in the NBA, big men win, right? So Fultz is a scorer, Tatum is a scorer. One guy is 6'4", one guy is 6'8". And then, some teams do the blood plate and the bone plate thing. Like, well, we project because he's a teenager, he might hit, a 1 inch, 2 inch growth spurt like Tatum did, who's now looks like a legit 6'9", 6'10" guy. And so for me, it wasn't that Fultz wasn't good. It was, do you take the 6'4" really good guy, or you take the 6'8" really good guy? That because they're both scorers. With
we agree.
some
And the NBA is a
playmaking
tall man's game.
aspects.
And to that effect, the issue was for me, do you take the dude who's going to take the ball out of the hand of Ben Simmons, who can't shoot or won't shoot, to give it to another guard who's going to drive and kick, which is what Fultz was projected to be, a very good drive and kick, almost Derrick Rose-esque type guard? Or do you take the other guy who doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands dominantly as these two other point guards? Like, that was my thing. You could have played Ben at the 1 and Jason at the 2, had a 6'8" and 6'10", backcourt, who are both going to rebound and push pace, but one is a scorer and the other is a facilitator, circling around a 7'1" behemoth in the middle. And like when they picked Markelle Fultz, for me the issue was the trade. I was like, Boston was going to take Tatum regardless. And we all know the Lakers are taking Ball. Like, nobody wanted to take Ball because Ball said, I'm going to the Lakers, and not LaMelo. I'm blanking on the name. Pops.
Oh, LeVar.
No, the dad, LeVar. Yeah, because LeVar's like Lakers, 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 and I'm sitting here like you could have recovered from Fultz's thoracic outlet syndrome. Like, I've had it. You just have to do physical therapy constantly. You could have made him into a productive player like he is in Orlando, and you could have recovered because you still had the draft assets after this would have happened. His development would have been different because he wouldn't have had the pressure of being number 1 pick. And like, we're not talking about Doc Rivers being out of Philadelphia because Daryl Morey sabotaged him by getting PJ Tucker. Like, that's like, I mean, that's there's levels. We're at the levels point. So let us back down. Let's get Micah in here, Bonkai in here, and Evan Townsend. We'll get a quick reset and talk some more hoops with Nick and Jay. Go ahead, Micah, then Bonkai, then Evan.
I would like to use this time to encourage everybody to watch the Celebration Bowl between the illustrious Jackson State and the I-8 North Carolina Central Eagles.
Well, I'm also gonna take this time to say I completely forgot to put up the playback TV thing, so I'm gonna get that up here. You should join me tonight. I'll be wait, tonight? No, sorry, my bad. That's why I didn't put it up, because subconsciously it's tomorrow. All right, I digress. So yeah, do what Jay said. Shout out to Al, saying, Hoop Spaces, why are you doing this to yourself, bro? Nothing coming out of this but pain. Like, I'm telling you, it hurts so much. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it hurts so much every time I see the Boston Celtics play and Jason Tatum goes off for 40, because I'm sitting here like, damn, that could have been us. We'll go to Bonkai. Bonkai, what's up?
Yeah, so the game is tomorrow at 9, right, on playback?
Yeah. See,
and
look,
do we have to sign up and pay, or what?
No, it's not a paid service. You're already paying for your league pass or your cable provider. All you have to do is click the what do they call it? A vanity link that I'm going to put up here, and you'll get sent to where the community is, and then you just hop in there. You'll see a screen where we stream from. You'll see the chat in the right, and then you request to raise your hand, come up on stage just like Spaces, and then we can watch the game. Let me get that up here.
I don't have League Pass though, so I have
you don't need. You'd have to log into your your service provider. So if you got Comcast or
Okay,
whatever you
so
got.
okay, yeah, all right. I got Spectrum, so it should work, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
and
cool.
then we just watched the game, and then I give really good, poignant takes, and we discussed stuff.
Okay. Also, I have one question. I've been meaning to ask it for a while, and I always forget. But so I was watching a bit of the Knicks game and a little bit of the Suns and Celtics game after, and it got me thinking. Like, do you know, or maybe anybody else knows, like, what's the average amount of screens that gets set in an NBA game? Like, I always found that interesting because there's so many screens being set all over the court, like in the game. So it got me wondering, like, who sets the most screens, or like, what's the average number? Always found that very interesting.
If you go, I think they actually track that on NBA.com.
Oh, they do?
I think so.
Oh, because if not, I'll look it up. I never thought about looking it up there.
Yeah, I think they do it by team on NBA.com, if I remember correctly. They have this thing that they're partnered with the supercomputer at Microsoft.
All right, thank you. That's an answer for me.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah, you go to teams. No, I'm sorry. You go to stats, drop down to teams, and then you want to select play type, and then they have different types. So you have off-ball screens, pick and roll handler, and pick and roll man, and that'll kind of give you an idea. So you'd have to combine the off-screen and the pick and roll handlers.
All right, so I found it. It's at NBA Court Optics, optix.nba.com. I'll try to get the link up here for you, Bakai, in a second.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Evan Townsend, Project Spurs, words on Spurs over at Project Spurs, here to preach the propaganda of R.C. Buford and one Greg Popovich, bringing in Victor Wembanyama, leading the Victor Wembanyama Olympics, also covering the NBA draft for the second year. Make sure you tap in, shoot a follow. Evan, good morning.
No, I appreciate the platform, Chris. Good morning. No Spurs propaganda this morning, man. No. Maybe tomorrow we play the Rockets tonight. It's gonna be a good game. But I really wanted to highlight what you said. You guys are talking about the 2017 draft class. So I've only been doing this draft stuff for a few years now. But one of the big questions I had when I first joined was like, how do you decipher who's going to be a Markelle Fultz, who's going to be a bust, who has potential, where do you read in, how do you can sense out these things, right? And all the guys, the scouts, people in draft Twitter, they were telling me, hey, Markelle Fultz was a complete athlete. He was the most consistent player, but he wasn't the best player. Jason Tatum was the best player from that class, and it was evident. The thing was, Jason Tatum had favoritism for the Celtics, and they knew that because of Ben Simmons, that Markelle Fultz wanted to have the primary point guard role. Ben Simmons didn't want to have all that pressure. They had, okay, we're going to pick Markelle and trade, because remember they did that trade between 1 and 3. A lot of incentives between money, promises, all kind of good stuff. Everyone remembers the LeVar Ball media train. That was that crazy nonsense. The ZO2s, only in Lakers colors, so you can't remake those in different team colors. But literally, at the end of the day, I remember, I forgot who it was. I think it was Nick. You were talking about Donovan Mitchell. That was a question I had as well. Donovan Mitchell was a clear top 5 guy. Throwing De'Aaron Fox in there as well. The thing was, Donovan Mitchell had holes in his game to where he wasn't a top 10, a top a lottery lock in most people's eyes. He was a reach and a quote unquote draft Twitter darling in a lot of people's eyes, because the mid majors don't get a lot of attention, but real ones know that when you're putting a lot of work in these workouts in the combine, your draft stock's going to rise for people that actually pay attention to that. But he had a lot of holes in his game. He was an undersized 2 guard that couldn't play the 1, no mid-range game besides just a shaky floater, and he didn't play defense. He had effort, but he couldn't play defense.
And you forget that they were housed by Kentucky.
Destroyed. Yeah. And
when did Louisville become a mid-major?
I mean, that was a lackluster comparison, but in terms of the top 5 schools, and here's the thing: if you go to a school like that and you're Markelle Fultz, or you're someone on the lines of, I'm trying to think of another mid-major school like Florida State and Scotty Barnes, you better be consistent. You better be the star of the show.
Oh, okay.
You know?
So I get it. Like you're using the wrong terminology.
Yeah, I tend to
Yeah,
do
these
that,
are
but I
mid-major
got you.
programs.
Yeah, they're not mids.
But you see what I'm saying. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I got you.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, real quick, because I am talking in like maybe 2 or 3 spaces today. Project Spurs doing a draft space, and then possibly the Rockets post game space today. Real quick about this NBA draft. There's 2 guys I want to highlight real quick about this year's class. Cam Whitmore, 6'7" Villanova stud, his second game back. You know, I was in Hoop Spaces a couple weeks ago saying he's like this year's version of Scotty Barnes. Throwing a little, sub creation, cross dribble between step backs, wrap around, dribble handoffs, get into the paint, trying to slam on people of his own miss. You know, he's really showing that he's going to be the engine of that offense. When that Villanova team is abysmal. So look for him to be the solidified top 5 guy. I think he's pretty much solidified himself already as a number 3 guy behind Scoot and Wemby. And then everyone's talking about the Brandon Millers and the Gigi Jacksons. I want everyone to remember Leonard Miller. I know I made a tweet a lot of Spurs fans didn't really like, saying that don't be surprised if he's like a top 10 guy in last year's class before he reclassified. He had a poor combine, but in the G League right now, this dude is lighting it up. Of course, everyone's looking at Scoot. Everyone's even looking at City Cisco. But Leonard Miller is a 6'11" point forward that's not turning the ball over, that's shooting very well, a 3-level scorer, that has the frame. He just needs to fill out a little bit, and I'm telling you, he's going to be a lottery lock. So,
the thing that worries me about Cam Whitmore is he reminds me of like a bigger Cedric Ceballos. He's you know what I mean? Like that's really good, by the way, but like it's not really good at the same time. If he gets in the right situation, is what I'm saying, dude will be good. But he's definitely going to have to be in the right situation.
His first step is as quick as Paolo's. He's just not as big. And when it comes down to his consistency from the mid-range, that's the only thing. No face-up game, but he's that burly power forward that can shoot, self-create, and finish at the rim. It's just that mid-range, pick and pop, a little shaky. No touch. But that's a good comparison.
All right, Jay, hop in here real quick, and then we'll get a quick reset because we got to talk about the games we got coming up tonight. Oh, and real quick, Bankai, if you look up top, Hoop Spaces Ryan found it for you. NBA screen assist leaders by team. Go ahead, Jay.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah. No, I would want to invite Ryan to see this guy on Jackson State's basketball team that's intriguing to me. His name is Trace Young. He's like a 6'8", 6'9" kind of combo forward. The only thing I don't like is Mo Williams doesn't run the ball through him. He runs the ball through like a 5'6" point guard from Chicago that is a D3 point guard. But I don't know if Mo Williams is trying to make recruiting inroads to Chicagoland. So I kind of have to live with that watching these games. But he has NBA size, probably needs to put on 20 pounds. But I don't think he's like a first-round pick or anything like that. Nothing crazy. But I just wanted you to take a look at him and see.
I saw him. I saw him play in Kentucky.
What do you think about him?
There's a kid who played in it was the Center Grove. He went to Indiana. I can't remember his name. He's like Justin Jackson-esque. He played at Mount Zion. I caught him when I went home. Visited my dad. I caught a couple games in Baltimore with Coach Katz. That was one of them. He lit it up, 23 points if I remember correctly. But he has a really wonky shot.
Yeah, and he's lefty. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think he's definitely a developmental project, and I think his ceiling is maybe like a 12-minute a night guy.
Oh, Justin, like I said, Justin Jackson.
Yeah.
But but the SWAC is going to be a really good, I think, really underrated basketball conference this year. Both men and women. Shout out to Coach Tamika Reed. I just want to hear Evan's thoughts on SWAC basketball, like in a couple of weeks.
putting you on the spot, Evan.
I'm sorry. What did he say?
What do you think of SWAC basketball?
I was going to ask him this in a couple of weeks. I was saying,
in a couple of weeks.
SWAC? Who is SWAC? What is SWAC?
Wow, that hurts.
Oh wow,
that hurts.
We pay attention to a little SWAC basketball. Like, there's a couple guys in terms of like you're talking about the draft, like people that actually have a chance of making, or are you talking about just in general?
It's just interesting prospects that, you know, unsigned or undrafted free agent, you know, summer camp invite, things of that nature. Like, nothing too crazy. I think the SWAC does have a couple of gems, but I think they will have to show out in a tournament game, whether it's the conference tournament or the tournament, to get notoriety, so to speak. But I think we got some people in our conference that can make some noise if given an opportunity.
Jay, does the J in your Abby stand for Jackson State?
Yes,
it does.
Sure. Okay, okay, all right, for sure. I'll tap in. I'll let you know. I'll DM for sure. I'll see what I can find.
All right, couple of housekeeping notes above, and if you are a nerd, you will like this. Hoop Spaces Ryan, shout out and round of applause to Hoop Spaces Ryan. The Hoop Spaces cardio rankings, ladies and gentlemen. Court area running done instead of is out. If you have questions, by all means, tag Ryan about your team or a player you want to know. And I tell you, it's really cool to see something kind of like created and understand the person behind it. So, like, this was painstaking work that he put into to develop a formula to represent something he knows that I personally have an affinity for. And I have to say, masterful job. Make sure you check out the cardio rankings. We're going to get a writing up so we can have it on the website. And I just want to give Ryan his flowers and a couple of points here, because I crack up. I crack up now. It gives me a smile when I watch basketball because I can say, boom, that dude just went up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have
Would this stat inform the Tony Snell Award?
Well, you know, I am telling you, it is very close to becoming named the PJ Tucker Award. I am very trying hard not to do this because I want to be able to continue to exemplify the greatness of Tony Snell, like pure Doc Rivers greatness. But as a Sixers fan, I do a very good job of maintaining objectivity and hiding my bias. It is very, very hard for me to hide my bias against PJ Tucker, who I want to remind everybody who signed a 3-year, $30 million deal that Daryl Morey offered to play 29 minutes a game. This is just the last 10. I'm rounding it up for the season. To give us a whopping 3.5 points, 4 boards, and 18 scouts a game.
Chris, more effective locker room presence and team leadership guy, PJ Tucker or Udonis Haslem?
Like, you know, let's talk about this. We have some time. There isn't a lot of games today. I can get 5 minutes in. How do you compare PJ Tucker and Udonis Haslem? It's hard. Udonis Haslem is averaging 1 point and 1 rebound on 6 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. PJ Tucker is averaging 3.5 on 29 minutes. Give me Udonis Haslem every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Because of the contract or independent of contract?
Both.
Yes.
And as what lovely people on Twitter say, not both, both. Like, it is so aggravating to go through life knowing that Daryl Morey is the dude that screwed your team. Like, I talk to Rocket fans. They talk about this. They will take Raphael Stone every day. They will listen to what the PR says. They don't even pay attention to the owner because they are still happy that that man is no longer in Houston. And if you just look at what they've had to watch the last 3 years, like, can you blame them? And Jose, you deal. Send McGee. I'll take him. Like, I'll take him. Trust me. You're going to be saving us some money. All right, 3 games tonight, ladies and gentlemen. 3 games, half slate. And it's going to be very interesting because one of them involves Udonis Haslam's team. And this is a team that I think now the panic button has been hit very heavily, and that is the Miami Heat, ladies and gentlemen. And if you haven't known, it has not been smooth sailing down in the 305. It's actually been rather bad. They will play tonight in the first game, hosting the Clippers on NBA TV at 7:30. The Rockets and Spurs, another barn burner, 8:30 on League Pass. 6-18, 7-17. Houston is favored by 1.5. I somehow think Houston wins by 20. Heat are actually favored by 6. I think this is going to be a very interesting game, make or break for the Heat, especially here on Twitter for the fans. And then they closed out on NBA TVT with the back half of a double-double. Hopefully, it'll be a good game. Nuggets and Trailblazers at 10 o'clock. Trailblazers favored by 1. I got approached and had a conversation with a brand yesterday. And like, I want to give a kudos and a shout out to Pass Anderson, John, Jay, everybody who's partake in the joke of me and the Sacramento Kings. I have not worked for the Kings, so I'm talking to this brand, and it's a known brand, not super big, but known. And the person literally has thought for a year now that I was an NBA player. Like, you cannot make this up. He was like, I just thought you were here every day because, like, you were just somebody who worked at the league who did it, and they said it was a good idea. And I'm like, what? That's how good we've been, ladies and gentlemen. So give yourself a round of applause. Shout out Nikki Face down below. It's good to see you. The Baltimore Orioles are still better than the Oakland Athletics, and that makes me happy. All right, final takes, ladies and gentlemen. We will go to Micah. Micah, final take of the day.
Real quick first, Jose, we already have a PJ Tucker. Trying to get a second one is nasty work. I'm just saying. And I had a question I was going to bring up earlier. So, how did Julius Randle look again last night?
Oh, he looked fantastic. 34 points, 17 rebounds.
Whoa. I'm just saying, Chris, we're probably not going to re-sign the guy. Probably not going to be here. Just saying. Third option money.
There you go. For all you Dallas Mavericks fans, send your hate mail to him, not to me. Send your hate mail to him, not to me. Big guy, thank you for your patience. You have 60 seconds for your take of the day. Appreciate you. And it's weird because normally we don't bring people up without Avies because it's very bot-like.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So I guess the take I want to talk about, I think it was this space that had Devin Booker and Tatum on the same level. And I think after this game.
Oh, no. There was a poll.
Okay.
Yeah, a poll. We don't. Nah. Yeah, that was a poll. It was who was better, Jason Tatum or Devin Booker. And that actually was inspired by a Celtics fan who reached out and said, "Could you poll this?" So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I did see some things in NBA Twitter. It might have been another space where people were saying that Devin Booker was on the same level as Tatum. and I think it should be clear now that Tatum clearly outclasses him. And I'd argue Jaylen Brown is right there with Devin Booker, to be honest with you, and he's in contention for best shooting guard in the league, to be honest. And then my last thing is with the Pelicans and Zion. So I think over these next few games, it's going to be really big statement games for the Pelicans. And if Zion plays well and Pelicans win, he'll start seriously entering that MVP conversation. I think right now they're getting overlooked because many people don't really watch them. But yeah, Zion is just, he's a generational talent. And I think I'm starting to agree with you that Trey Murphy might be better than Brandon Ingram, at least long term. The thing I like about Trey Murphy versus an Ingram is a black hole with the ball at times, and Trey Murphy can get the ball out his hands pretty quickly, or he's quick to make his decisions, and I think that's always great for an offense.
Appreciate it. He is a this or that player, and like if it's not the shot, it's that. Like he is, and that's you cannot teach that. Like Kevin Durant has that. The next step in Trey's development is then to actually be able to get his own shot, and then the step after that is to be able to manipulate the offense. Brandon Ingram's ability is phenomenal, but the skill set is different. His skill set is that of control, and that's why he needs the ball in his hand so he can control to manipulate first, because he's a facilitator first. He uses his length and his athleticism to provide mismatches, which allows him to score effectively. They're different, but same, but different. Use the John Franco gif if you know. We'll go to 6 out of 12. Last take of the day. And actually, real quick, big guy, I'm going to give you a point. I was going to close adding that in there. The Zion MVP hype train will steal this from either Luka or Jason Tatum if the Pelicans stay number one. Go ahead, 6 out of 12.
Yeah, I would like to add to that what Big Guy was saying. Not about Zion, because there's be enough people talking about that, but the schedule ahead for the Pelicans. I think if they can get out 7-3 on this schedule ahead, the next 10 games, they have the Suns on Friday, Suns on Sunday, Jazz, Suns, Bucks, Spurs, Thunder, and Pacers. I think that's a good job. But that's all I want to add.
All right. Appreciate it. Have fun at the game, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to take my son to a Pacers game here after the turn of the year. We'll go to Bonkai. Bonkai, last take of the day.
Yeah. Quick question, actually. Is shacking a fool still a thing?
I don't know.
Because, Trae Young might have gotten shacking the fool moment of the year by showing up to the Garden, playing like shit, losing to my mid-Knicks, and wearing shoes that said King of Broadway. Absolute foolishness. You look stupid. And that's it. That's my take. Shacking the Fool Award of the year for that man.
And I'm telling you right now, all of this goes away the moment Trae Young becomes a New York Knick.
Oh, of course. Short memory.
We have an updated cardio rankings. I'm getting ready to retweet that now by Hoop Spaces Ryan. We're at the end of the show, so I won't add it, but it will be in tomorrow's Hoop Spaces review. If you have yet to subscribe to the email, I don't understand why. Like, if you're in here listening and you like basketball, it's free. You get all the game recaps. You're going to get player interviews from people that I've developed a relationship with. I'll source out the stories that I'm reading and stories that are trying to be visible outside of the regular, ESPNs and stuff like that. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of work, but it's a challenge, and I do like challenges, which is why we decided to build this community when this challenge was given to us. And I want to take this time to say thank you to somebody who has been a part of this, the process every way, as a listener and as a contributor. And like for all of you down there who sometimes feels that you can't come up here, stop. Like you've listened to us enough. We aren't here to assault you, right? We are here to bring you into the fold of our fandom so we can share passion about the game we love. And the very few people have passion like Jay the Wakanda tech support. And I want to make sure that I highlight him just like I highlight the creators like Jose who have popped up here and become part of the active discourse of Hoop Spaces. But people like Jay are just as important to what we're doing. People like John, who's down there, and that's John Paul. He's important to what we are doing. Danny D, who can't come up, is important to what we are doing. Santa Rosa is important to what are we doing, or what we are doing. And what are we doing is building this so that we don't have to deal with the other stuff, right? So if you are down there, and you want to ever come up and you're shy, don't worry about it. We got you. Jay the Wakanda tech support, thank you for all you've done as a contributor here, to what we've built. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate you letting me up, Chris. Even though I say things that get the room going sometimes, because I would like to congratulate LeBron James for finally being a better player than Paolo Banchero this season. I'm glad to see it. But no, my final take is free Jabari Smith. There's not a lot of games, so if you could watch the Rockets and Spurs games with me as a family and learn how number 2 picks who have the potential ceiling of Kevin Garnett should not be used and abused by a franchise, watch that game. Watch Jalen Green decide that basketball should pass a religious rule that passing should not be done under any circumstances, and that big men should be looked off and ignored at every possible opportunity. And so, yeah, because I'm gonna watch this game, and I am going to be very, very glad that Taylor Jenkins is the Grizzly coach and not the guy for the Rockets, because glass half full. You know what I mean? Glass half full. Because Taylor Jenkins had Steven Adams in a matchup last night against a center who was 190 pounds, and Steven Adams did not score 40 points. Am I still upset about it? Yes. Am I going to cuss and throw stuff? No. Because it's about a positive mentality and deep breaths. Thank you.
That's probably the nicest thing he said about Taylor Jenkins in over a year. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with Luke Kornet. People have made fun of him his entire life. Trust me, that's what every tall, lanky person goes through when they think you're unathletic. Lately now, what he was being made fun for was his volleyball defense. Oh, man, I cannot tell you the amount of people who said, "What is he doing?" Ladies and gentlemen, when he does that, he holds opponents to 25% shooting from the perimeter. Did you know that? 25%. Go look up top as John Paul is morally obligated to spread the greatness that is Luke Kornet. As I have said here every day, and you can ask Nat when she's in the room, I would torment her about Luke Kornet. I said that Luke Kornet was the man you needed to be the backup big in Boston. You know what he did last night? He went perfect from the floor. 6 for 6. Making DeAndre Ayton look bad. Luke Kornet, ladies and gentlemen.
Knicks legend Luke Kornet, Chris. Because I forget he used to be a New York Knick.
Yeah, well, just think how many more wins you would have had if you kept him.
Exactly. This front office, man. Well, previous.
All right. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic. I just want to let you know that I love it. And I'll be thinking about this exchange for the rest of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the show. Thank you for making any part of your day part of Hoop Spaces. As always, thank you to our sponsor, Slam Goods. Catch them over at slamgoods.com. Use promo code Hoop Spaces. Save 15% on your entire purchase site-wide. That's 15%. Check out the Rewind editions. Check out the Funko Pops. But if you're cold, because it's winter. Like, I know technically by date it isn't, but if you go outside, it is. Pick up one of these hoodies. The Slam to the World hoodie is one of those thick hoodies. They're dope. Other news, I will be receiving the Hoop Spaces hoodie. That's right. In the mail, I think tomorrow. I'm excited. If it's good, pretty soon we'll be popping out our own merchandise here on the Best Basketball Conversation. If you missed any part of the show, head over to YouTube. You'll see it in unedited, on purpose, on YouTube, right? Powered by audiolabs.io. Tomorrow night on Playback TV. Hope you have a good day. I'm going to play this in honor of Luke Cornett.
But I already knew what was coming to me. I have to let it to say, I told you something. I'm trying to tell you, I knew this was happening before it was happening.